matter where he goes. She tells him to stay for a while, because in his current state, he's going to get killed by monsters, but he doesn't care, because he's just looking for a place to die. She thinks about how at first, she was excited to guide the people who came from other worlds, but after seeing how selfish everyone was, she lost all her excitement, and she realizes that Dazai is different. She wants him to choose a profession before he leaves, but he explains that he has been a writer since he was born. As he leaves, she falls to her knees, and her face turns red, because she thinks he's the man she's been waiting for. Dazai comes across a sign, but he can't understand what's written on it, and he thinks there's no chance he's going to find a cafe. He keeps hearing the system's voice, which tells him about the progress he has made, but it makes him feel like he's going to die. He notices a girl named Tama, who is trapped by a monster tree, but instead of helping her, he thinks about how beautiful dying girls are, and he asks her if he can write a novel about her. She tells him to save her, so he tries to jump to her, but he can't reach her, and he ends up getting caught by the tree. She explains that it has a suction skill, which sucks the life force out of its captives, so they're going to die in a few minutes, but he thinks it's great news, asking her if she's excited to die. But the tree suddenly starts rotting away, and they're set free, but he's disappointed because he failed to die again. The system mentions that the tree was killed by his poison, so she realizes that it absorbed poison from him instead of his life force. He tells her he's trying to die, and he's disappointed that he survived once again. But she's happy that she's alive, and she invites him to her place because she wants to thank him for saving her life. He thinks about his partner Saki, who tried to die with him in his previous life, and he wonders if she was also transported to this world. Tama tries to introduce herself, but he keeps mentioning Saki, and he's happy to have a reason to live, planning to find her so that they can die together. Meanwhile, Annette prays for Dazai's safety, hoping they'll meet again, and he suddenly returns, so she runs to him, but she's shocked to see Tama with him. He asks her if she knows Saki, so she freaks out, realizing he has another woman in his life. Annette decides to join the party, and as Tama tries to grab Dazai's hand, Annette smacks it away. Tama wonders why she joined them, and seeing the look on her face, Tama realizes she's in love with him. So she starts blushing, but she explains that she just wants to protect him, because he's the weakest otherworlder. Tama is surprised he's from another world, thinking it's the reason why he's strong, but Annette thinks she's lying, knowing he's weak. They start to argue with each other, and when Tama mentions that he saved her life, Annette gets jealous, thinking they're already close. He finds a coffin and decides to rest in it, telling them to wake him up once they reach the town, and he closes it, but Tama gets mad after he calls her the wrong name. They start to drag his coffin, and Tama gets angry, so she yells at him to walk on his own. But he doesn't reply, so she thinks he might be dead, but Annette assures her he's just resting. They reach the city, and Annette thinks they should meet with the king first. So they go to the castle, where they meet the King Thomas and his daughter Charlotte. He offers to let them stay there, on the condition that they share the stories from their travels. He wonders if Dazai has pleasant memories to share, but when he starts talking about how it feels to sleep in a coffin, the king thinks he's threatening him. Annette tries to distract him, telling him how beautiful Charlotte is, and Thomas reveals that she's getting married soon. He summons two men named Gomez and Otto, and he mentions that due to the influence of the Dark Lord, the monsters have become more active, and he's too old to deal with it. So one of the two men is going to marry Charlotte and become the next king, but he mentions that she still hasn't chosen one of them. So he asks Dazai and the others who they think is more suitable to be her husband, but Dazai thinks he shouldn't ask them to make such an important decision. He mentions that Thomas isn't fit to be king, and he leaves, but Annette and Tama apologize for his behavior, saying he's from another world. At night, Annette wakes up, realizing Dazai is having trouble sleeping, but he reveals that he never sleeps peacefully. She wonders who Saki is, but before he can answer, she sees Thomas sleeping in the same bed as him, and they start to argue with each other. He leaves the room, and he comes across Charlotte, who is watching a lake, and he tells her it's so beautiful it makes him want to drown in it. She can't believe he's so depressed that he wants to die, but he thinks she feels more troubled than him. She explains that she doesn't know who to choose as her husband, saying Gomez is one of their most dependable soldiers, and her father believes in his strength. But Otto is her childhood friend, who always cheered her up when she felt down. Dazai realizes she's the complete opposite of him, because she cares for her father, while he only caused problems for his family, but he never asked anyone how he should live his life. The next day, Thomas summons Desire and the others to act as witnesses, as Charlotte chooses her husband, but everyone's shocked when she says she wants to die with Desire. She mentions that after she talked to him, she realized that Otto was always singing to her because he just wanted someone to listen to his songs, thinking he never really cared for her. She explains that she can't marry Gomez because he is smelly, but Thomas urges her to come to her senses and choose one of them. But she calls him a fool, telling him she didn't even want to get married, and no one cared about her feelings except for Desire. Gomez suddenly transforms into a monster, revealing that his mission was to become king and offer the kingdom to the Dark Lord. He thinks Charlotte saw through his disguise, but she explains that she only said he smelled because it's the truth. He plans to kill everyone, and the soldiers charge in, but he blows them away. We see that Annette has passed out after hearing what Charlotte said about Desire, and Tama tries to wake her up, but has no luck. She realizes they're in danger, so she jumps away with Annette and attacks Gomez. Otto sings a song, which makes her think he's buffing her, but nothing happens, and she realizes he just wanted to perform his new song. Gomez rushes towards her, and she tries to stop him, but he manages to land a hit. He prepares to finish her off, but Desire interrupts them, saying he wants Gomez to kill him and Charlotte first. Gomez decides to grant his wish, and he rushes towards them, but Charlotte cries because she doesn't want to die, saying she wants to protect the kingdom, so Desire pushes her out of the way. Gomez is about to crush him, but Annette summons a barrier to protect him, and Gomez tries to break through it, but his horns end up breaking, and Tama hits him with everything she has, sending him flying out of the castle, and he falls into the lake. After that, Thomas apologizes to Charlotte for never considering her feelings, and she becomes the queen of the kingdom. Desire and the others continue their journey, as Annette and Tama wonder if Charlotte is going to be okay. But Desire thinks there's nothing to be worried about, because she made the decision herself. He thinks about how dying women are beautiful, but he also admires women who stand on their own feet. Tama gets hungry, so Annette suggests taking a break, and Desire comes out of his coffin, wondering if it's time to eat. Annette offers him bread, but he wants boiled tofu, so she decides to look for it in the next town. Tama wonders how long it will take to reach her home, and Annette thinks they should arrive in a couple of days, but they first need to make a stop at the Zweiten Temple. She explains that people from other worlds arrive at one of the 4 temples, and from there, they go to fight the Dark Lord, but Desire's goal isn't to fight, but to find Saki. Annette is relieved he isn't going to fight the Dark Lord, because she doesn't want him to put his life in danger, so Tama teases her, thinking she must really love him, so she becomes embarrassed, and she explains that she just wants to help him, because he showed her the light when she had given up hope for her job. But Tama wonders what will happen if Saki turns out to be his lover, and she starts crying, saying she wants to verify it. Tama isn't sure if the temples will let her in, because she left her job to go with him, but she reveals that the head priest of the temple is her friend, and she had her familiar deliver her resignation. Tama realizes that her familiar is a small monster, and it's eating Desire's head, so she scolds it for always causing trouble. She's surprised when it spits out her resignation letter, and she gets angry, realizing it didn't deliver the letter, but Desire calms them down, and names the monster Melos. He goes back into his coffin, and they're shocked when a dragon suddenly appears in front of them. A girl named Waldelia arrives, and they can't believe their eyes when she tames the dragon, but she tells them to go away because there are more monsters in the area. She looks at the coffin, thinking their group has already suffered a casualty, but Desire comes out of it, and Annette mentions that he's a weirdo from another world. But Waldelia gets angry, saying she will kill all the other Wolders, and she attacks them with her dark magic. Annette tries to block it with her barrier, but the attack is too strong, and it breaks through her shield. She sees the mark around Waldelia's neck, realizing she's the Dark Lord, and she's so strong that they can't even move in front of her. She's about to attack again, but Desire tells her to leave the others alone, saying he's ready to die. So she stabs him, and she thinks he's dead, so she starts walking away. But he gets up, saying he feels the hatred inside her, and he explains that he can understand how she feels. He wonders why she feels that way, but she gets scared, and flies away with her dragon. Desire and the others barely survive, and Melos drags them to the temple, where Annette tells the priestess Isha to take care of Desire first. The next day, Desire makes a complete recovery, but Tama is shocked when he starts to drink poison, because he feels like he recovered too much. Isha tells Annette she was shocked when she heard Annette had quit her job, but she was also relieved because she felt Annette was too pure for the job. Isha wonders why she's traveling with an otherworlder, reminding her that they're terrible people because they're given powers to fight the Dark Lord, but they all end up using it for themselves. An otherworlder named Kitaro appears, explaining that he has the power to make an unlimited amount of money, but Isha sends him running. She mentions that all of them are like Kitaro, but Annette thinks Dazai is different, so Isha tries to convince her to stop traveling with him. He suddenly interrupts them, telling her he needs money to buy a drug, so she gives him gold, but Isha thinks he has already ruined her. Isha asks her about his powers, so she explains that he doesn't have any, but he still fought against the Dark Lord to protect them. But Isha is shocked, because the Dark Lord was already defeated 7 days ago. Annette tells Tama about the situation, and she's glad the Dark Lord is dead, but she wonders who Aldelia is. She mentions that Dazai also came to the world 7 days ago, and she's confused about it, because otherworlders are summoned to defeat the Dark Lord. But if he was already defeated, there would be no reason to summon Dazai. Dazai becomes depressed, because he can't write about his experiences since starting his new life. Annette wonders what he wrote about from their first meeting, but he reveals that he didn't write anything about her, so she starts crying. He wants to feel the excitement he felt from Aldelia, so Annette decides to go shopping with him. She buys a huge armor for him, because they could be attacked at any time, and she tells him to stay put, saying she's going to buy the items they need. Isha comes across him, and she tells him to stop traveling with Annette, thinking she will be unhappy with him, but he thinks it's her choice whether she wants to come with him or not. An otherworlder named Suzuki tells the entire town that the Dark Lord has been defeated. But since the otherworlders risked their lives to defeat him, he announces that they're going to rule over the people. No one is on board with the idea, and Kitaro tells Suzuki about how Annette treated him, so he becomes angry. Suzuki pets Annette's head, and she falls to her knees, as Tama wonders what just happened. So Kitaro reveals that anyone Suzuki pets turns into his slave, and Tama yells at him to turn Annette back to normal, but he also makes her his slave. Isha tells him the town isn't going to let him rule over them, so he orders his wolves to kill them, planning to build a new kingdom once everything has been destroyed. The wolves set fire to the town, and Tama starts attacking Dazai, but he's protected by the armor Annette bought for him. She finally manages to break through it, but a broken piece hits her, and she gets knocked out, so Dazai puts her in a barrel to make sure she stays safe. Isha comes flying towards him, and she tells him otherworlders are selfish. She reveals that Suzuki was a weak man when he arrived in the world, but he has become greedy due to his powers. Dazai wonders where he is, and she mentions that he's in the church, so he decides to go there. But she doesn't think he can face Suzuki on his own, so she follows after him. They reach the church, and Dazai pulls out a bottle of poison, which makes her relieved, thinking he has a plan, but she's shocked when he drinks it. She thinks they should attack from behind and catch Suzuki by surprise, but Dazai walks in through the front door. He tells Suzuki he wants to make a novel based on him, which makes him think Dazai wants to write about how he's going to conquer the world. But Dazai explains that he wants to write about how Suzuki gained more power than he deserved and fell into greed. Suzuki orders his wolves to attack Dazai, but he keeps writing in his book without paying any attention to them, so Isha tries to save him. She uses her magic to blast the wolves, but she gets overwhelmed, and they shoot fireballs at him, but Mellows uses his helmet to protect him, deflecting the attacks back towards Suzuki. He orders his biggest wolf to attack, and as it bites Dazai, he thinks the fight is over. But it suddenly gets infected with poison, and dies immediately, as Kitaro freaks out and decides to run away. Isha tells him to surrender, but he orders Annette to fight them. So she takes his knife and attacks Isha, but she doesn't want to fight Annette, so she tells Dazai they should retreat. But he tells Suzuki that Annette isn't as weak as he thinks, and he calls Dazai a fool, thinking there's no way to overcome his spell, so she's going to live the rest of her life as his slave. But Dazai gets close to her, and Suzuki realizes she's stopping herself from killing him, so he tries to get her to go through with it. She remembers how she was trapped in life, but Dazai set her free, so she stabs her leg, and she manages to break Suzuki's spell. Dazai tells Isha to heal her, and Suzuki can't believe he lost, so he tries to take his own life, but Dazai stops him, saying he can't allow him to die, because his novel isn't finished yet. We learn that Suzuki was bullied in his previous life, so he considered taking his own life, but he didn't have the courage to go through with it. But he gets hit by Truck-kun, and he met Isha, who told him he had been selected as a hero to fight the Dark Lord. He was surprised by the power he received, but when people started treating him like a loser, he used his skills to teach them a lesson. He tells Dazai they couldn't expect a person like him, who had only faced suffering, to save an unknown world after getting such powers. Dazai thanks him for his story, because it allowed him to complete his novel, but he still doesn't consider it a masterpiece. A summoning circle suddenly appears beneath Suzuki, and a pillar of light appears. As the dust settles, Isha realizes that Dazai has sent him back to his original world, and Annette tells her Dazai has gained a skill, which makes her wonder if his purpose is to fight the other worlders. After that, Isha brings a new coffin for Dazai, and Annette thanks her for all the help. Isha tells her Dazai has an important role in their world, and his journey is going to be difficult, but she must support him in every way. Isha wonders if Suzuki is going to continue living his old miserable life, but Dazai mentions that it's up to him on how he wants to write his story. Isha goes to the town table, where she sees a priest named Wolf drinking. He tells her she's lucky only demis live in her area, because he deals with dwarves every day, and he hates how they smell, but another priest named Elton tells Wolf he shouldn't say such things. So he apologizes for his behavior, revealing that Elton is the first non-elf to be appointed as priest, and he even reached the rank of archbishop. He thinks a person's species doesn't matter, saying he has seen elves who don't act like they should. But this makes Wolf angry, telling Elton to change jurisdictions with him, since his area is always peaceful. The Cardinal Miller arrives, and he tells everyone to take a seat. He apologizes for summoning them when they're all busy, and he wants them to give a report of their region. But before they can start, a girl named Arya arrives late for the meeting, and she apologizes to everyone, as Miller mentions that it's her first meeting, since she's the replacement for Annette. She says she has nothing to report, but he reminds her that Charlotte has just taken over the throne, and she apologizes for forgetting it. Elton greets her and reports that everything's fine in his region thanks to the authority of the Pope. Wolf notes that he's managing, and Miller mentions that he heard there were conflicts between the dwarves, but Wolf explains it happens all the time. Isha tells everyone about how Suzuki went on a rampage, and Miller mentions that he summoned everyone to talk about the other worlders. He explains that the Dark Lord has been defeated, so the Pope has decided to seal the magic circles, which connect their world to the others. Wolf is relieved they won't need to take care of other worlders anymore, but Miller reveals that the 7 other worlders who defeated the Dark Lord have taken control of his land, and everyone's surprised to hear this. The Pope has received a declaration of war from them, causing him to be distressed, because he thought the other worlders were angels sent to save them. So he gave them unconditional love, but they have turned against him. Miller explains that they need to take care of the other worlders who are causing chaos in the cities, and they can't overlook Waldelia, who is the daughter of the Dark Lord. Elton can't believe the other worlders have become their enemies, and Wolf thinks if they work together, they might become a greater problem than the Dark Lord. Arya knows they're overpowered, but Isha tells everyone about Dazai's power to send the other worlders back to their original world. The Pope arrives, and he wants her to tell him about Dazai, thinking he's their only ray of hope. Meanwhile, Annette and the others head to a town, and decide to rest there before they continue their journey, so Tama is happy that they will be able to sleep in beds. The system announces that she has leveled up due to intense training, but she's disappointed that she's getting stronger by dragging a coffin. A boy named Nir tells them where they can find an inn, and offers to provide information that will help them in their adventures. He mentions a service group, which appoints other worlders to a week party, so that they can be protected on their travels. Tama has a disgusted look on her face, because she's had a terrible experience with the other worlders, but Nir thinks they're the ones who are going to save the world. He offers to introduce them to a hero in exchange for money, and she refuses his offer, but Annette immediately pays him. So Tama is shocked, asking her if she knows how much money she's paying, but she thinks it's a small price for Dazai's safety. Nir thinks they're carrying a dead person with them, but he's shocked when Dazai comes out of the coffin. They tell Nir that despite his appearance, Dazai is also a hero, but he refuses to believe them. He takes their money, saying he will be back with a warrior, telling them to wait at the inn. At night, Annette waits for Nair to come back, but Dazai tells her he isn't going to return. The receptionist at the inn wonders if they gave him money, and Annette mentions that he promised to get them a hero. But the woman reveals that he hasn't met an adventurer in his life, so Annette starts to lose her mind, realizing she was scammed. but Desire wants to know about him. So the woman reveals that he's an orphan who started living in the city, and he survives by fooling visitors into giving him money. She feels bad for him, thinking the heroes he talks about don't exist, because they wouldn't let him live such a miserable life. Meanwhile, Nier is kidnapped by 3 men, who steal all the money he has, and he tells them his otherworlder friends aren't going to let them do anything to him. But they start using their powers, and they reveal that they're also otherworlders. They know he has been using their name to steal money from people, so they decide to punish him, but as one of them is about to shoot him, Desire comes to his rescue. One of them analyzes Desire, realizing he's also an otherworlder, but he thinks there's nothing to be worried about because Desire is ridiculously weak. They tell him they're going to kill him, but he becomes excited, and he wants them to shoot at his heart, but they realize his health is increasing, so they get scared and run away. He sees the look in Nier's eyes, and he's happy that Nier has the look of a child, because the first time he met him, he seemed like an adult, but he's shocked when Desire leaves without untying him. The next day, they prepare to continue their journey, and they realize Desire is sleepy, so Annette wonders if he was with another woman, but he just gets in his coffin without answering. Nier arrives, and Tama tells him to give them their money, but he mentions that he promised to get them a warrior, so he decides to join them. They continue their journey, and Nier is worried because Desire keeps talking about dying, but he's surprised that the others don't care about it. They reach Tama's homeland, where they see a checkpoint at the front gate, and she tells them she will get them in. But upon seeing her, the guards immediately arrest them, and they end up in jail. Nier realizes they were arrested because of Tama, thinking she must be a criminal, but Desire is excited, because he thinks they're about to get executed. Nier manages to pick the lock, but Desire becomes upset, asking him why he would do that, and the guards see them, and they are instantly caught. They meet the King Siberian, as his minister Briard explains that they're about to get executed for their crimes. Annette doesn't understand what's happening, so Siberian explains that they kidnapped the princess. Tama arrives, telling him it isn't true, because she decided to travel with him. So they realize she's the princess, and she tells her father to release them, but he explains that he won't do it unless she stops acting like a fool. So she promises to be a good daughter, saying she's going to stop traveling with Desire's party, and Briard tells them they're free to go. We see Annette and Nier enjoying their meals in a restaurant, but they realize that Desire is depressed because he didn't get executed. They can't believe Tama is a princess, and they start talking about her, but a girl named Fawn hears them, so she tells them she used to work as her servant. Desire realizes she knows about her background, so he asks Fawn to tell them about it, thinking Tama is an interesting person. Meanwhile, we see Tama thinking about her friends, but she sees a man standing outside, and he uses his powers to attack the palace. Siberian sees him, asking him who he is, so he introduces himself as Kaibara, and he reveals that he's one of the heroes who defeated the Dark Lord. Siberian asks him what he's doing there, so he reveals that he wants to eat everyone, and Siberian soldiers charge in, but he uses his powers to eat them. He spits them out, realizing they taste terrible, but he mentions that he wants to taste a young demi-woman. Siberian orders his soldiers to stand back, and he prepares to fight Kaibara, who tries to eat him, but he counters and attacks with his lightning palms. But it doesn't work, and Kaibara pushes him back, as he reveals that his body is extremely durable, because he ate golems the other day. Siberian prepares to use his ultimate technique, telling Kaibara he will defeat him in a single blow, and they're about to clash, but Tama suddenly interrupts them. Kaibara is excited to eat her, and she decides to join the fight, but Siberian stops her, telling her she can never replace her brother. We return to Fawn, as she reveals that Tama had a twin brother named Leon, and he was supposed to inherit the throne, but he died with his mother because of an accident that occurred 10 years ago. So Siberian became depressed, and Tama saw him crying, so she decided to cut her hair, planning to take Leon's place to put his mind at ease. But her plan didn't work, and it only made their relationship worse. Siberian tells Tama she's a terrible fighter, but she lunges at Kaibara, and he's about to eat her, so Siberian pushes her to safety, but he ends up losing his arm. Kaibara tells him he can't use his ultimate technique without his arm, and he taunts Tama, so she becomes furious, and she charges in, but Briard knocks her out and takes her away. We see Desire thanking Fawn for her story, as Briard arrives with Tama, saying they had to escape from the palace because an otherworlder attacked them. Everyone sees an explosion, and they realize that Siberian has been defeated. Kaibara tells them he's going to rule over them, and he promises to be a good king, but he mentions he wants to eat the women and the children, so a man threatens to beat him up, but he ends up getting eaten, as Kaibara mentions that he has changed his mind, saying he's going to eat everyone. So they start running away, but his monsters block their path, and he tells them there's no escape for them. Nier thinks he's insane, and Desire realizes that Tama's life will make an excellent story, but he wants her to do something about the situation, telling her to show him the rest of her story. After some time, Tama regains consciousness, realizing she's in Fawn's house, and she rushes outside, wondering what just happened. So Briard explains that Kaibara has captured the capital, and he's trying to eat everyone, so she decides to stop him, thinking it's her duty to protect the kingdom. But Annette reminds her about the accident that took Leon's life, knowing everyone cried after 2 members of the royal family died. So she thinks everyone loves the royal family, telling Tama they will lose hope if she dies, so she shouldn't put herself in danger. Annette tells her they have a secret for defeating Otherworlders, and she heads to the palace with Dazai and Nier. They arrive at the entrance, where they're stopped by 2 ogres, who threaten to kill them. But Dazai explains that he wants to be eaten, thinking it's a great way to die, so he wants the ogres to tell Kaibara about him. But they become confused, wondering what they should do with him, so he becomes upset, telling them to make up their minds, and they decide to grant his request. They end up in the dungeon again, as Annette starts crying, thinking they're doomed. But Dazai tells her to stop, as he tells them he has a plan, revealing that he saved a lockpick, and he tells Nier to work his magic. We see Kaibara in the throne room, as the ogres tell him about Dazai, but they suddenly get knocked out, as Tama arrives, and Kaibara tells her he's been waiting for her. In a flashback, we see Tama watching Leon train, and Siberian knocks him down, reminding him that he's going to become the next king. Siberian sees Tama, and she tells him she also wants to fight, but he becomes upset, telling her to know her place, and behave like a princess. So she returns to her room, where her mother Lapama realizes that she got into trouble again. She explains that she hates her father, because he doesn't want her to learn martial arts, but her mother tells her to listen to what she has to say. We return to the present, as Kaibara mentions that he used Siberian as bait, and Tama prepares to take him on. He explains that he doesn't want to eat her yet, because he wants to have fun with her, and he attacks her with his lightning palms, which sends her crashing against the wall. She recognizes it as her father's technique, and Kaibara tells her about his overpowered skill called gluttony, which allows him to acquire the abilities of anything he eats. We see Dazai's group walking around the palace, and Annette is surprised that he actually has a plan, because she thought he really wanted to be eaten. They head to Lapama's room, where he realizes that a drawer is locked, and he tells Nier to help him. So he uses his lockpick to open it, and Dazai sees Lapama's diary. We return to Tama, as Kaibara uses her father's skills to knock her down, telling her she's a terrible fighter. She recalls the moment when she asked Leon why he kept training, because she knows that he doesn't like fighting. So he explains that he isn't a good fighter, thinking she has more talent than him, but he mentions that he needs to work harder than everyone else, because he wants to be as strong as his father. Tama gets back up, and Siberian tells her to surrender, because she's no match for Kaibara, but she explains that Leon would never give up. So Kaibara starts laughing, thinking he will feel truly alive when he eats her, and he thinks he's about to have the best meal of his life. In another flashback, we learn that Kaibara was born into a rich family, and his parents bought him everything he wanted. But his heart felt empty, and he wants to feel alive, so he stabs one of his maids, but he still isn't happy, because he feels like he's being kept in a cage. So he runs away from home, and he sees a homeless man, who's enjoying his meal, but Kaibara is jealous, because he thinks the man is happy with his life, so he beats him up. He walks around the streets, thinking he's the most miserable person in the world, and Truck-kun arrives to fetch him, as he realizes that his boring life has finally come to an end. Back in the present, Kaibara tells everyone about his story, and he mentions that he can now do anything he wants. He prepares to eat Tama, but Dazai gets in the way, telling him his story is boring. He tries to kill Dazai, but he realizes that he can't, thinking it's because his instincts refuse to eat him. Annette tells Kaibara that he's about to receive divine punishment, because Dazai has the power of the storyteller, which allows him to banish Otherworlders. But he refuses to use his powers on Kaibara, because his story is lame, but this makes him angry, and he unleashes his full power, creating a shockwave that blows everyone away. He decides to kill them before he eats Tama, who realizes that her friends are in trouble, and she blames herself for what's happening, thinking her actions led to this disaster. But Dazai approaches her, and she asks him what she needs to do, so he gives her a book, as he tells her he wrote a story dedicated to her, and he wants her to read it, saying her story is interesting. So she opens the book, and the pages start flying, as Annette realizes that he's using his skill. But Kaibara attacks her, so she uses her shield to defend, as he tells her to focus on their fight. Dazai explains that he has learned about Tama's past, and he knows that she's suppressing her feelings to make her father happy. He reminds her that she tried to replace Leon after his death, but Siberian misunderstood her feelings, so he started to dislike her. Dazai mentions that she has lost sight of her true self, and he reminds her that her mother told her who she's meant to be. She sees a page, and she recalls that La Palma told her that her life belongs to her, so she shouldn't allow anyone to tell her how to live her life. But she's afraid that her father would never allow it, so her mother promises to convince him, and she tells her not to worry, because he just wants her to be happy. We return to the present, as Dazai tells Tama that she has a choice, asking her if she wants to be an ideal princess, or a prince that could replace her brother. But he thinks she should just be herself, reminding her that she's an adventurer, and this allows her to unlock her true power. Her body starts glowing, as he tells her to write the rest of the story, and Siberian realizes that she has activated the crest of the divine beast. We learn that Leon knew about the crest, but Tama told him not to tell their father about it, because he doesn't want her to become a fighter. Her crest disappeared, but Siberian overheard everything, and he realizes that he was the one who locked it away, because he was being an overprotective father. Kaibara mentions that he has finished digesting Siberian's hand, thinking she'll never be able to defeat him. But Dazai starts smoking, saying people can find hope when they're pushed into the depths of despair. Everyone starts cheering for Tama, and she charges in, as Kaibara prepares to use her father's ultimate technique, but she stops him, and she manages to land a headbutt. So he becomes angry, but she uses her father's ultimate technique, which is known as the King's Fang, and it's able to defeat Kaibara. Her crest disappears, and she loses consciousness, as Annette starts healing her, telling her she fought well. Dazai gives La Palma's diary to Siberian, who immediately recognizes it, realizing that Dazai read it without permission, so he wonders if he's going to get executed, but Siberian thanks him for saving Tama. Briard arrives, realizing that she has awakened, and he knows that she used the King's Fang, but he mentions that she still hasn't perfected it. Kaibara suddenly transforms, and he reminds everyone that he was one of the 7 heroes who defeated the Dark Lord. But he tells them his secret, saying he ate the Dark Lord's remains, so he was able to acquire his powers, and he thinks nobody will be able to stop him, because he has become the strongest being in the world. He prepares to blast everyone with his dark magic, but Waldelia suddenly cuts his head off. He recognizes her as the Dark Lord's daughter, and he mentions that her father was delicious, so she becomes upset, and she blasts him with a powerful energy beam. Everyone realizes she's overpowered, but Dazai suddenly appears next to her, asking her if she feels better now that she has killed Kaibara. But she wonders why he's still alive, promising to kill him next time, and she flies away with her dragon. He finds her interesting, wondering why she always looks sad, and he wants to write a story about her. The next day, Fawn thanks Dazai's party for saving the capital, and they prepare to leave without Tama, because she has chosen to remain in the castle to support the king. We see Tama in her room, but her father tells her she doesn't belong there, because she doesn't behave like a princess. He tells her to join Dazai's party, saying he doesn't need her to protect him, but he wants her to return after she finishes her journey. So she removes her dress and leaves through the window, telling him she's going to be an excellent fighter when she returns. Dazai tells Nair that he's terrible at dragging the coffin, so he becomes upset, telling Dazai to start walking. But he thinks that won't be necessary, and they see Tama running after them, realizing she has decided to join the party again. After some time, they see the World Tree, as Annette mentions that it's sacred, and it grants protection to everyone who visits. She reveals that the town of Tonarito is nearby, saying the villagers live alongside nature, and she thinks they should visit it. They arrive in the town, but they're surprised to see a casino, realizing that the other worlders created it. We see that the people are gambling, and they're killing each other, so the girls think there must be a mistake, but Dazai thinks the people are depraved, and they have chosen their reality. He realizes he's out of his pills, so he freaks out and he starts eating stones. They visit the mayor, asking him what happened to the town, so he explains that everyone used to live in peace and they had the blessings of the world tree. But the other worlders arrived, and they built the casino, which attracted chaotic people from all over the world. He explains that the world tree has started to wilt, because the spirit of the tree isn't happy with what's happening, and he tells Dazai's party that they're running out of time, asking them to restore the town to its original state. But Dazai is still thinking about his pills, asking the mayor if he can fill his jar. A warrior named Yamada suddenly appears, revealing that he's an otherworldly, but he explains that he's different, saying he wants to bring peace to the town. So he promises to help the villagers, and Annette thinks they should join him, but she realizes that Dazai has disappeared. We see Dazai walking around the town, and we learn that he isn't happy because he's starting to feel unhealthy, so he wants to do something to ruin his health. He sees it suspicious, so he decides to check it out, realizing that it's filled with people who are smoking. So he gets excited, asking them if he can join them, but a girl named Eska suddenly approaches him, telling him to join her. She takes him to her bar, where he starts drinking, saying he wants to drink himself to death, because he isn't happy with his life. She asks him what he was doing in the cave, as she mentions that the people were addicted to the leaves from the world tree. So he explains that he's out of sedatives, and he feels restless because he doesn't want his mind and body to become healthy. She promises to help him relax, telling him she's a dancer, but he thinks her performance is going to be boring. She tells him to watch her anyway, and she starts dancing, as he realizes that she's an excellent performer. We see Annette crying, as she wonders what happened to Dazai, and she sees him arriving, but she realizes he's with Eska, so she becomes devastated. The mayor asks Eska what she wants, saying the villagers don't want to see her, but she explains that she just came to bring Dazai to his friends. After she leaves, Tama asks the mayor who she is, so he explains that she's called the Witch of Tonariko. He reveals that when the Otherworlders built the casino on the edge of town, the villagers couldn't stop them, but Eska decided to work with them, and she opened a bar next to the casino. Nobody knows anything about her, but everyone thinks she's a traitor, because she makes a fortune by entertaining the Otherworlders who enter her bar. Yamada thinks she's evil, so he wants to take her down, and the mayor is happy to hear this, calling him a true hero. The next day, Dazai walks to the bar, as Annette tries to stop him, telling him everyone's preparing to fight the Otherworlders, but he doesn't care, saying he never accepted the job. Yamada tells her it's hopeless, because Dazai has already been charmed by the witch, but he tells her not to worry, promising to save him after they destroy the casino. We see Dazai with Eska, and he thanks her for helping him fall asleep, but she tells him to stop spending time, because the villagers hate her, but he mentions that he doesn't care. She tells him about the spirit of the world tree, who saves the weak and sick people by granting their wishes, and she thinks praying to the tree might help him. But he thinks she's the one who needs to be saved, and he mentions that he felt her sadness while she was dancing. A group of men suddenly enter the bar, and they tell her to give them drinks, as they intimidate the people who owe them money, knowing they spent all of it at the casino. An otherworlder named Sabu threatens to kill them if they don't pay their debts, so they promise to do whatever it takes to make money. He talks to his boss, telling him the casino's profit is down, because there are less people gambling, so he thinks they need to move to another location. But the boss thinks they just need to turn the villagers into gambling addicts, and teach them how to smoke the leaves from the world tree. Eska reminds him about his promise to leave them alone, saying she paid him protection money, so that the Otherworlders won't touch the villagers. But he explains that he needs to make money, and he orders Sabu to kidnap villagers, so she tries to stop him, but he pushes her away. Dazai tells her she isn't a witch, and he calls her an angel, but the ground starts shaking, so everyone runs outside, and they realize that the casino has been destroyed. Yamada tells the Otherworlders that he's going to take them down, because they're destroying the peace in the town. Sabu orders his men to attack, but Dazai suddenly confronts Yamada, saying that he can't stand people who act righteous. But Yamada tells him to come to his senses, and think about what needs to be done, but he just thanks Yamada for sharing his opinion, saying he will never change his ways. Yamada promises to show him righteous conduct, and the Otherworlders charge in, but he attacks them with his sword of justice, which instantly blows them away. They realize they're no match for him, so they decide to retreat, and he asks Eska if she wants to fight him, but she just thanks him for saving the town. The villagers celebrate, calling Yamada their savior, but they still hate Eska. So he tells them to forgive her, but they throw stones at her, and they tell her to leave the town. But Dazai interferes, telling them she fought to protect the town, as he explains that she was trying to keep the Otherworlders in check, so that they wouldn't invade the village. He thinks she's the real savior, and he tells the villagers that they should be ashamed of themselves. But they don't believe him, so Eska decides to leave, as she apologizes for all the trouble she caused, and the villagers are happy that they were able to get rid of her. But Yamada is shocked by their behavior, and he asks Dazai if he knew this would happen. So he explains that it's difficult to distinguish right from wrong, and he can't stand people who act righteous, because they're convinced that they're fighting for the greater good. Yamada wonders if he made the wrong decision, so Dazai explains that he isn't sure, but he mentions that the town banished its protector. He leaves with his party, as the mayor tells Yamada that the Otherworlders made a fortune by selling the leaves of the world tree, so he's planning to continue the practice, and also sell the leaves. He thinks the world tree will be revived now that the Otherworlders are gone, and he tells Yamada to be the town's bodyguard, so that nobody can interfere with their business. He offers to pay Yamada 10% of the profits, so he falls into despair as he regrets his actions, realizing the mayor is just as bad. Meanwhile, Annette wonders if Dazai saw the whole picture, and he thinks he's no different from Yamada, because he wasn't able to save Eska. They suddenly see the world tree drying up, so the villagers panic, as they wonder what's happening. Eska appears before Dazai, and she thanks him for understanding her, as she grants him her blessing, hoping he finds peace in his life. He notices that his jar is glowing, so he pulls it out, and he realizes she granted his wish, because she's actually the spirit of the world tree. The party reaches a desert, and Annette and Tama are tired, but Dazai is happy because the heat might kill him. Annette mentions that her plan is to take the shortest path to the Triton Temple, but she doesn't think they can survive the desert. Nir reveals that he's originally from the desert, and he explains that it's safe to move during the day, because monsters and bandits work at night, but they're suddenly attacked by bandits. Their boss Toru tells them they're about to enter the huntsman's territory, so they need to pay him, but Tama and Annette get ready to fight. Tama tries to kick one of them, but he dodges it, and he's about to hit her, so Annette stops him with her shield, and Tama knocks him down. Toru rushes towards Dazai, because he looks weak, and even though Nir is scared, he still tries to draw his sword, but Toru tells him he should be prepared to die if he takes it out. Toru reveals that his scorpion has a deadly poison in its tail, which excites Dazai, and he tells Toru to kill him. The scorpion stings him, but Toru is shocked when the scorpion gets infected with poison and blows into pieces. Toru becomes angry, and he charges at Dazai, but they suddenly hear a howl, which frightens the bandits, so they decide to retreat. After that, Annette heals Dazai, and Tama realizes that Nir is feeling down, since he wasn't able to help during the fight, so she tries to cheer him up. He apologizes to Dazai for being a coward, but Dazai tells him that no one starts out as a hero, saying he will get stronger with time. Annette is worried about the howl, so she tells Nir to guide them, and he takes them to the orphanage where he grew up. A woman named Kathy gives them food, and everyone finds it delicious, but Dazai asks for synthetic seasoning, and they have no idea what he's talking about. The other children at the orphanage wonder if Nir has become a hero, because he said he would return after becoming one, so he tells them he's a member of a hero's party. He explains that Dazai is a hero, but Dazai mentions that he's just an author, so the children ask him to tell them a story, but he's about to share a depressing one, so Kathy stops him. At night, they once again hear the howl, and Kathy reveals that it's a wolf, telling them never to go out at night, but we see that Dazai is already outside. As everyone's sleeping, Nir sees something moving outside their room, which scares him as he thinks about the wolf. He takes his sword, and goes to inspect it, but he comes across a man named Saito, and Nir realizes he's been donating food to the orphanage. Nir wonders why he leaves it there in secret, so he explains that he enjoys watching the children eat the food from outside the window. He wonders who Nir is, because he hasn't seen him in the orphanage, so Nir explains that he has been traveling, but he grew up in the orphanage after his parents died. He shows Saito his father's sword, and he reveals that he has been traveling so he can become a hero who's worthy of wielding the sword. After talking all night, Saito is about to leave, and Nir tells him he should have breakfast with the children so they can thank him, but he thinks he doesn't deserve it. After that, Nir goes with him to collect food, and they secretly place it outside the orphanage. Toru and his men arrive at the orphanage, and they take one of the children hostage, so Tama tells Kathy to hide with the kids. Tama and Annette attack the men, but Nier is once again unable to move, so Saito arrives and takes him away. Nier starts crying, which makes Saito remember his old life, and he reveals that he lost something important in his old world due to his legs, as Nier realizes that he's an otherworlder. Saito transforms into a wolf, and he starts killing everyone, so Toru decides to retreat, but Saito chases after him. He's about to kill Toru, but Nier gathers the courage to block him with his sword, telling him to stop, because he won't be able to return to his old self if he continues his rampage. He continues to attack, but when Nier drops his sword, he manages to stop himself before he hits Nier, and he turns back into his human self. He reveals that in his old world, his parents died at a young age, and he lived a lonely life until a boy reached out to him. But one day, he saw the boy being beaten, and instead of helping him, he tried to run away, but truck couldn't arrive to fetch him. He mentions that he could have saved the boy if his legs were okay, but Dazai tells him to stop blaming his legs, saying he ran away due to his weak heart. Nier tells Dazai to stop, because he can understand what Saito is going through, since he's also a coward. But Saito calls him a warrior, because when he was out of control, Nier was the one who stopped him despite having no special powers. Dazai prepares to send Saito back to his original world, telling him he's a good person, because unlike others who used their powers for selfish reasons, he helped the children. The children thank him for his help, and as Dazai sends him back, he realizes that his friend is there to support him, so he starts crying. Isha and Wolf are fighting in a war, and she tells him to stop drinking, but he thinks she worries too much, which makes her angry. Another group of enemies is about to attack them, so he tells one of the dwarves named Doran to draw the enemies toward the east side. Doran mentions that he isn't going to accept orders from Wolf, but he still attacks the lizards, making them follow him. Wolf uses wind magic to summon a tornado and destroy the enemy forces, forcing them to retreat. He thinks that instead of chasing them, they should withdraw as well, but Isha is shocked because she realizes that Dazai has also been caught in the tornado. At night, Doran and the dwarves are celebrating their victory, and he thinks the church should thank them because they're dealing with the fallen otherworlders for the church. But Wolf tells Doran he shouldn't badmouth the church, and he compliments the dwarves for their bravery. Meanwhile, Isha wonders if Dazai is okay, and Annette mentions that he was in his coffin, which protected him, but he thinks he has bad luck because he was able to survive. Wolf arrives, and Mellows instantly falls in love with his familiar. He apologizes to Dazai for hitting him, and Dazai thinks he should be apologizing for failing to kill him, but Dazai is happy he got to have another near-death experience. Isha tells them they're at war with one of the 7 fallen angels, and Tama reveals that she has already defeated one of them, but Wolf doesn't believe her. She thinks he shouldn't underestimate their party, and she tells him about Dazai's power to send the fallen otherworlders back to their world. Wolf mentions that the Pope is interested in that power, but he thinks the church doesn't need it, because no matter what kind of gift a person has, it's meaningless in the face of his magic. As he's about to leave, he tells Dazai to stay back, saying he will take care of the fallen angels. Tama wonders if he's extremely powerful, so Isha reveals that he's one of the strongest wizards in the world. Meanwhile, the fallen angel of misery returns to the castle, and he mentions that they will win tomorrow, because he's going to join the fight. But another man notes that he's planning on sending the fallen angel of greed named Yuriko, because he thinks she can defeat Wolf. Dazai realizes that Mellows is sad, because he already misses Wolf's familiar, and he thinks they're the same, since they're both looking for a woman, so he offers to help Mellows find her. They see her with Wolf, who's surrounded by his fans, and Dazai teases Mellows, saying Wolf is his complete opposite. They follow Wolf, and see him trying to get into a girl's house, but no one opens the door, and Dazai thinks he's like Mellows, because he's also pursuing his beloved. Wolf tells the girl inside the house that he's going to war tomorrow, and he promises to return, but Dazai doesn't think they should eavesdrop on him, so he decides to leave. The next day, the fallen angel's army attacks once again, and Tama wishes to fight, but Doran tells them to relax, because they're his guests. As the fight begins, everything seems to be going well with the help of Wolf's magic, but a dragon suddenly appears, and it starts blasting everyone. Isha recognizes it as the legendary dragon Jade, who was once under the control of the Dark Lord, but Wolf is disappointed the fallen angel of misery only has a dragon as his trump card, because he has already defeated several dragons in the past. He prepares to attack him, and Doran sees that someone other than the fallen angel of misery is riding the dragon. Wolf is shocked when he sees Yuriko, and he drops his staff as she grabs him with her dark hands. So Isha tries to stop her, but the dark hands touch her, and it makes her drop to her knees. Yuriko takes Wolf away, and Doran asks Isha what's happening, but she tells him they need to retreat. After that, she briefs everyone about the situation, and Doran is angry because they were too dependent on Wolf, so in his absence, they have started to lose the war. Meanwhile, Dazai goes to the house where Wolf went to, and he's shocked to see that an old woman lives there. Isha thinks Yuriko might be Wolf's student because he used to be passionate about teaching the Otherworlders. But he suddenly stopped one day and started drinking, which makes Tama wonder if it's because of Yuriko. Isha tells Doran to send soldiers to rescue Wolf, but he explains that he can't spare any, so Tama tells them they will get him back. They wonder where Dazai is, but everyone's shocked when he returns carrying an old woman. The next day, Doran gives them new equipment, and Dazai mentions that he didn't get what he requested. But Doran reveals that the craftsmen are confused with his request, and they haven't finished making it yet. Mir thinks they will be tired after crossing the desert, but Toru suddenly arrives, saying he has changed after Nir saved him, and he's there to help them. Toru reveals that he runs a bus company during the day and protects the orphanage at night, but Tama has no idea what a bus is. So he explains that his skill lets him turn anything into a bus, and he demonstrates it by hitting a tiger and turning it into a bus. Dazai tries to ride it, but Toru kicks him away and leaves him behind because he's still angry at Dazai for killing his scorpion. Dazai thinks he has no choice but to stay behind, but the woman asks him to take her to Wolf, so he decides to help her. Annette and the others reach the Dritten Temple, and Annette tries to help the priests who have already been defeated by Yuriko, but Isha tells her she shouldn't touch them because Yuriko's magic is still present on them. They enter the temple, where they see Wolf hanging by the throne, but Yuriko doesn't want anyone to interrupt them, so she summons skeletons to fight them. Wolf begs her to stop, but she reminds him that he was the one who taught her never to hesitate in front of the enemy. The skeletons attack her, and she blocks them with her shield, while Isha blasts them with her spell, but everyone's shocked as they realize that the skeletons keep regenerating. Isha wonders what happened between Yuriko and Wolf, and she thinks Wolf must have been a great teacher, so there shouldn't be any reason for Yuriko to hate him. We go back to the time when Yuriko was Wolf's student, and he mentions that her magic isn't suitable for battle. He explains that Otherworlders aren't required to challenge the Dark Lord, and he tells her to live a normal life, but she wants to save everyone by defeating the Dark Lord. Yuriko enjoyed their time together, but one day, a girl appeared from another world, and Wolf became occupied with her. He stopped giving attention to Yuriko, but she still continues her training, hoping he would notice her again. But all he can see is the girl, so she becomes jealous, and her powers awaken as she attacks the girl, engulfing her into the darkness. Yuriko suddenly calls back all the skeletons, which makes them think she's sparing them, but she summons a giant monster. Wolf tells everyone to get away, and the monster is about to attack them, but Dazai suddenly arrives. Yuriko is shocked to see the old woman, because she's her younger sister Hikari, which confuses everyone. Dazai mentions how Hikari told him she was always sick as a child, but Yuriko always stayed by her side and took care of her. Yuriko was excited about high school, but she had to stay home most of the time because she had to take care of Hikari. But Yuriko doesn't like to hear about her past, and she once again summons the skeletons. Tama and the others protect Dazai from the skeletons, and he tells Yuriko he's an author, saying he can't die before writing her story. Hikari tries to get Yuriko back to her senses, but she mentions that she always hated Hikari because she stole her childhood, so she was happy when she was transported to another world. She thought she could finally live her life, but we learn that Hikari was the one who took Wolf's attention away from her. Yuriko summons the monster to kill Hikari, but Dazai asks her what she really desires, which makes her angry, so she orders the monster to kill him. But Wolf pushes him out of the way, and he gets hit, so his body starts to wither. But he's shocked when Dazai tells him to stay out of the way, because he has no place in the story he's writing. Yuriko summons the skeletons, and they hit Dazai, causing him to bleed, but he gets close to her, saying he needs to write about her true feelings. We go back to Yuriko's graduation day, but her father doesn't care because he's occupied with Hikari, and Yuriko becomes sad when she sees other girls with their parents. As he leaves for work, he tells Yuriko to take care of Hikari, but she puts on her uniform and goes to school. When she returns home, her father slaps her because Hikari's condition got worse in her absence. Yuriko goes outside the house, thinking she just wanted attention, but she gets hit by Truck-kun, who transports her to the new world. Yuriko starts to cry, saying she's a terrible sister, but Hikari hugs her, realizing she was the reason why Yuriko suffered. Desire reveals that Hikari lost hope in her old world without Yuriko, which led to her getting hit by the truck. We learn that after Hikari came to the new world, she told Wolf she would become strong enough to defeat the Dark Lord, because she wants Yuriko to live her life freely, saying she wants her to be happy in this world. Desire prepares to send them back to their original world, as Hikari suddenly turns into her younger self, and all the people who got hurt by Yuriko are healed. She apologizes to everyone for all the trouble she caused, and she thanks Wolf for granting her a moment of youth. They get transported to their old world, and as Hikari wakes up, she thinks everything that happened was just a dream. We see Doran defending the castle, as the enemies decide to retreat. So the dwarves celebrate, thinking the fight is over, but he mentions that they can't call it a victory unless Wolf returns with the others. Desire and the others prepare to head back, but the city suddenly collapses, as the fallen angel of misery appears, saying he's there to eliminate them. Wolf attacks him with a powerful wind spell, and the girls realize that his magic is insane, but it doesn't affect the fallen angel, who explains that his armor grants him spell immunity. Toru tries to turn him into a bus, but it doesn't work, so Tama charges in, and she attacks him with her ultimate move. But he easily blocks it, and he summons his sword, as he prepares to strike her down. But Nier blocks his attack, shattering his sword, and he recognizes Nier's weapon. So he finds him interesting, telling him to work on improving his skills, and he jumps away, as everyone thanks Nier for saving them from the fallen angel. That evening, we see everyone celebrating in the castle, as Isha mentions that she's glad her sisters got a happy ending. But Wolf starts to question the church's methods, because he thinks the sisters were summoned for their convenience, saying they weren't happy while they were staying in this world. Mellows approaches Wolf's familiar, but she immediately rejects him, so he becomes depressed, as Desai tells him to cheer up. He suddenly sees a strange woman, and he recognizes her as Saki. She mentions that she's glad to see him again, and he immediately invites her to finish what they started, saying they will jump off the building together. But she doesn't want to do it, telling him he has changed since she last saw him, because he looks lively, and she mentions that he's not the person she used to know. He tries to convince her that he's still living a miserable life, but his companions appear, saying Mellows came rushing to them, so they ask him what happened. Saki realizes that he found something better than death in this world, so she tells him she can't be with him anymore, and she walks away, as he calls her name, so Annette realizes that she's the girl he's been searching for. The next day, they visit the guildmaster of the blacksmith's guild named Rhodos, and we learn that he was the one who made their equipment. But Desai is restless, because Saki told him that she can't be with him, and he eats his pills, causing him to pass out. Nier asks Rhodos about his sword, saying it belonged to his father, so Rhodos checks it out, but he mentions that the sword is too great for Nier, saying he needs to get stronger so that he can become a warrior worthy of it. Desai suddenly rides a machine, as Rhodos warns him that its power still needs to be adjusted, saying it could kill him. But he doesn't care, saying he wants to die, and he starts driving away, as his companions chase after him. We cut to the fallen angels, as they have a meeting with Saki, who appears to be in a good mood. One of them asks her about her reunion with Desai, calling him their enemy, and she mentions that he has the power to change the world, saying he's as wonderful as ever. We return to Desai's companions, and we learn that they lost him, but a man asks them if they need help, saying they're in the village where the hero rested before he went to the Demon Lord's castle. He shows them the famous statue of the hero fighting the Demon Lord, but Tama mentions that it looks like he's running away. So the man explains that it used to look heroic, but a weirdo riding a strange vehicle crashed into it, and they realize he's talking about Desai. They think about following him, but the man tells them that he's heading to the shrine at the end of the village, which leads to the forbidden land called Orange. Annette recognizes it, knowing the Fairy Queen lives there, but the man thinks he'll never reach it, because he needs to pass 3 trials to get there, saying only the hero passed it so far, so the man thinks Desai will be back soon. We see Desai as giant creatures get in his way, trying to test him, but he dashes past them, allowing him to skip the tests. He enters a strange portal, which takes him to the Forbidden Land, and the fairy queen named Oberys greets him, telling him he's the second human to visit her. He thinks he's finally resting in paradise, thinking he's already dead, but the fairy twins named Elu and Solu appear, telling him to bow to their queen. Oberys explains that she grants her protection to the humans who visit her, telling him he needs to bring peace to the world after he receives it. She asks him what's needed to save the world, wondering if it's absolute power or trust in others. But he just tells her that he wants to die, and he explains that he doesn't want to save the world because he's already had enough, saying his soulmate left him. Solu thinks he's insane, but Oberys knows that he has received Eska's blessing, wondering why she chose him, because she has a reputation for being incredibly sincere. He reveals that she gave him infinite sedatives, asking Oberys if she wants to try it, but Solu becomes upset, threatening to kill him because she can't stand his attitude. But Oberys reveals that the hero who visited her failed to bring peace to the world, and she knows that the world is in chaos, saying the Otherworlders are blurring the line between good and evil. So she thinks a righteous person can never resolve the situation, and she mentions that Desai might just be the person the world needs. She touches him, and she tells him that he will be reunited with his soulmate at the end of his journey, so she wants him to keep on living. He thinks she's just trying to cheer him up, but he thanks her anyway, and she gives him a parting gift, telling him to use it if he needs the fairies to help him. He gets teleported away, and we return to his companions, as they wait for him to come back. Nir thinks he has given up on traveling, because Saki rejected him, but he suddenly crashes into the statue, and he apologizes for making them worry. The man becomes upset, because he ruined the statue again, but he uses the whistle to summon Solu, and he orders her to fix it. She refuses to do it, but Oberys calls her, wishing her luck, and she realizes that she doesn't have a choice. Desai's group leaves the castle, and they continue their journey, because he wants to be reunited with Saki. Everyone thinks he's going to change the world, but they wonder if he's going to bring peace or chaos, knowing the fate of the world rests on his shoulders. But that's where this video ends. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. Begins with a boy named Haruka. The story begins with a boy named Haruka, but we see that he's a loner. He doesn't care about talking to his classmates because he thinks they're just distractions from his books. But a magic circle suddenly appears beneath them, and he gets excited because it's just like the ones he has read about. But he realizes that going to another world would be annoying, and he just wants to read about them instead of going to another world himself. So he tries to leave, but the door is locked, and it won't open no matter what he does. The magic circle starts to get bigger, and the students begin to panic, while Haruka gets into the ceiling, where he thinks he's safe, but the magic circle catches up to him, and he's transported to a white room. Haruka is surprised since no one else is there, and he thinks it's the part of the story where a king or a princess will reach out to him. But the god of the other world panics when he sees Haruka, because the others have already been transported and Haruka was left behind. The god tells Haruka to get ready, and tells him he needs to select his status and skill he will have in the other world. A board appears in front of him, and he notes that each person usually gets 50 points, and they select whatever skills they like. But it's the first time the god summons so many people, so all the good skills are already gone, leaving only the useless ones. Haruka looks at the board, but he's shocked at how bad the skills are, like one that just lets him hold a stick, so he yells at the god, because he won't be able to survive with such useless powers, and his complaining makes the god grant him all the remaining skills. The god transports him to the new world, and he has no idea what to do since he wasn't prepared, but he realizes that even if he had time, there's no way to truly prepare for being transported to another world. He sees a bag in front of him, and he thinks it's useless, but he's surprised that he can store an unlimited number of items. He puts on his new clothes, and he knows they're just garbage items that the others left, but he still likes them. He tries to check his stats, but a screen tells him to roll his dice, and he remembers he has a skill that allows him to allocate his points by rolling dice. He curses the god for giving him such a useless skill, but he rolls the dice and gets a double M. He has no idea what it means, and the screen asks him which stats he wants to add his points to. He thinks he won't survive by just increasing health or mana, since his abilities are so bad, so he assigns everything to luck. But when he opens his stats, he sees that his luck is maxed, so he realizes. Meanwhile, we see a boy running away, but he trips over and starts begging for his life. He promises he doesn't have a certain skill, but his attacker starts choking him and he loses his life. We see Haruka and the girls walking through the forest, and he knows he needs to protect them from the delinquents. They come across an orc, and Haruka tells the girls to take notes while he fights. He rushes at the orc, and it swings at him.
Tanaka is the laziest person you have ever seen in your life. He's so lazy that his only friend, Oda, has to grab him under the shoulder to take him to class. In class, everyone knows that Tanaka is the ultimate lazy person, so no one bothers him. After the first lecture, Oda comes to Tanaka to discuss the next period, and when he touches Tanaka's arm, he realizes Tanaka's arm has fallen asleep. These types of things often happen to Tanaka, but he just wants to get some rest. The next period turns out to be a self-study period, and for Tanaka, it's rest time. He decides to sleep on his desk and can finally doze off. But the breeze from the window can't reach him because the other students who are sitting close to the window are blocking it. For some reason, he did not sleep well today, maybe because he is far from his usual spot. And the self-study period is like a gift for Tanaka from God, so he doesn't want to waste it. Another friend calls Oda. Suddenly, the other students move from the window and the fresh breeze reaches Tanaka. He starts feeling like he's in heaven, the ultimate situation for a lazy person like Tanaka. But he gets too lazy and falls from the chair. Next is PE period, and Tanaka surprises Oda by saying he wants to build some physical strength so his limbs don't get numb or get hurt, no matter how lazy he becomes. So he decides to work hard so that he can slack off worry-free. For the PE period, the class decides to play badminton. Tanaka and Oda team up against their two friends. Oda is all fired up while Tanaka just plays with a racket. The match starts and Oda plays aggressively, which shocks both of their friends. Next, it's Tanaka's turn. Tanaka swings the racket, but because of his laziness, his loose grip causes the racket to fly off. So their friends ask Tanaka to take a break, and Oda plays 1 against 2 and still wins. Later, they find Tanaka sleeping with a shuttlecock on his head. The next day, Tanaka seems more listless than usual to Oda. He forgets to remove his hand from his cheek when he stands up. While drinking water from the tap, he doesn't move his mouth too much. Also, he doesn't eat lunch even when Oda offers him his own. In the piano class, Tanaka turns out to be really good at the piano. But soon he falls asleep on the piano, and the atmosphere changes. When the teacher tries to wake him up, he screams at her. Oda and their other friends finally assume that Tanaka wasn't listless today. In fact, he is in love. Later, Oda goes to the classroom to take Tanaka home and suddenly sees a lot of notes in his book to go to the dentist. So Oda just grabs Tanaka and takes him to the dentist. Actually, Tanaka didn't find an easier technique to brush his teeth and eventually got a cavity. He tells Oda he is not in love with someone and falls asleep. Oda takes Tanaka home in his usual style. Meanwhile, a girl is watching them from a distance. The next day, someone calls out to Tanaka. Upon looking, he sees a short girl who asks Tanaka to make her his apprentice. This girl is Miyano, and she's in the same class as Tanaka. Tanaka refuses her as teaching someone is not his style, and he doesn't want to work hard. But Miyano insists and tells him she wants to become a mature woman by becoming as listless as Tanaka. However, Tanaka tells her he doesn't want any new developments in his life, and that he doesn't want to get involved with new characters. But Miyano keeps insisting. At last, Tanaka agrees and tells Oda to let her do whatever she wants for today. Oda thinks Tanaka is becoming more mature, but Tanaka tells Oda that even if he says no, she will probably be back tomorrow. For Tanaka, it would be more effort to turn her down. Tanaka then tells Miyano he won't teach her anything. She just has to study him herself. Miyano agrees and decides to do her best, but Tanaka tells her the first thing she should do is not to do her best, but Miyano decides to do her best not do her best. Tanaka realizes this is going to be a problem. Later in class, Miyano decides to study Tanaka and assumes that his eyes always look sleepy. She tries to imitate this, but it shocks the teacher, and Miyano realizes that the path of listlessness is a rocky one. Next, she assumes she should relax her entire body and space out. The teacher assumes she is sick and asks the class president to take Miyano to the nurse's office. During a lecture break, Tanaka shows Oda a donut coupon for half price, but it's for 3 people. So they decide to call Miyano too. Miyano really wants to go but decides not to show her excitement and instead gives a cool, calm response. However, her drooling face reveals the truth, so once again, she fails on the path to being listless like Tanaka. During lunch break, Oda wakes up Tanaka to eat. Since Tanaka is in his sleeping mode, Oda takes him to the cafeteria and Miyano follows them. Tanaka tells Oda that his ideal world would have a radius of 85 centimeters so that he could reach everything. He says it's hard to live, so he wishes to live in a place where he can eat and sleep in one spot. Oda thinks Tanaka is talking about jail and is shocked. After lunch, they go to get something to drink and Tanaka orders green tea. Miyano also joins them, and when Oda asks what she wants, she asks for green tea, as well to appear mature. But Oda gets strawberry milk, which shocks Miyano, and she starts crying because she wanted strawberry milk too, but feels stuck with the green tea. Oda asks Tanaka to drink strawberry milk so that Miyano will feel better seeing him drink it too. But when Tanaka does this, Miyano runs away crying. Later, Miyano thinks she doesn't have the talent to be lazy. Suddenly, the class president, Shirashi, who took Miyano to the nurse's office in the morning, comes by to ask about her health and then leaves. On the other hand, Miyano decides to read a lot of books on listlessness. After school, she shows Tanaka a research report on listlessness, but Tanaka tells her he doesn't get it because you won't work so hard for it. He also tells Miyano that she seems naturally hardworking. This shocks Miyano a bit, but Tanaka compliments her for being herself, and Miyano admits that she wanted to become mature for the sake of someone she loves. Tanaka tells her if the person she likes accepts her as she is, she doesn't need to become listless like him. After this, they all go to the donut shop as they had planned. The next day, Tanaka finds a challenge letter in his shoe locker. During lunchtime, Tanaka tells Oda that he can eat almost everything and is not a picky eater, but he cannot eat things that require effort, like beans that need to be picked up individually or fruits that need to be peeled. Hearing this, Oda helps Tanaka by devoting his fish so he can eat all his lunch. While going out, Tanaka suddenly collapses. Oda is shocked by this, but Tanaka reveals that he is so full that he is now starting to get tired. Later on the school roof, Oda asks Tanaka about the challenge letter he received in his shoe locker that morning. But Tanaka pretends he never received any letter because he wants to avoid any conflict and continue living his peaceful, lazy life. Suddenly, a girl with a long skirt arrives at the school roof looking for Tanaka everywhere. The girl introduces herself as Echizen and asks Tanaka to fight her, but Tanaka pretends to sleep, totally ignoring her. It turns out that it was Echizen who gave Tanaka the challenge letter that morning, asking him to come to the back of the gym during the break to fight. But Tanaka never showed up because break time is his golden time to rest. It also turns out that Oda and Echizen know each other. Echizen tells Tanaka that they both used to hang out in the same gang, but in reality, Echizen is Oda's next-door neighbor, and they have been friends since kindergarten. Suddenly, Oda reveals one of Echizen's childhood embarrassing memories, and Echizen asks him to keep his heartwarming mom stories to himself. Seeing Echizen's reaction, Tanaka realizes that Echizen is not a bad person. Echizen remembers why she came and again asks Tanaka to fight her because she wants to find out what kind of person Tanaka is. Tanaka gets up and declares his defeat before the match even starts, telling her he lacks the motivation to fight and would likely lose any battle that requires effort. This shocks Echizen, and she tries to convince him to fight, but in the end they both decide to play a card or board game instead. While playing a board game, Echizen easily wins and Tanaka admits his defeat, but is satisfied with it. He writes the word win in Japanese using a white marker, and seeing this, Echizen feels that she is somehow lost in a different way. Suddenly, Echizen's stomach growls and Oda realizes she hasn't eaten lunch and gives her some bread. But the bread turns out to be in the shape of a cute bunny, which angers Echizen. She's upset because she doesn't like cute things, but in reality, she can't bring herself to eat something so cute. Tanaka realizes that Echizen actually likes cute things and has a girly side. Ignoring all this, they decide to play cards next. Tanaka shuffles the cards, and seeing this, both Oda and Echizen compliment him. Tanaka decides to show them another way to shuffle, but the cards get blown away by the wind on the roof. After collecting all the cards, they're still missing one. Echizen gets angry because she thought Tanaka was somehow a respectable and skillful person who was just pretending to be lazy. Since her best friend respects him so much, she decided to check him out, but now she sees that he's actually just a weak, lazy boy. Suddenly, Miyano arrives and Ichizen instantly switches into girly mode, swinging Miyano around. Tanaka and Oda realize that Ichizen's best friend is actually Miyano, who respects Tanaka as her master. It also turns out that the person Miyano is trying to become more mature and listless for is none other than Ichizen, her best friend. The next day, Oda runs toward the classroom while carrying Tanaka under his arm. They are both late, which is why Oda has to grab Tanaka to make it on time. As they reach the class, they suddenly stumble into Shiraishi, the class president, at the door. Tanaka doesn't know she's the class president since he's only interested in sleeping during class. Oda informs him that she's their class president and also the most respected girl in the entire school. Everyone admires her. Suddenly, members of Shiraishi's fan club arrive and corner Oda and Tanaka, ready to punish them for stumbling into their goddess. But a simple touch from Shiraishi makes them run away in embarrassment. Tanaka and Oda help Shiraishi pick up the papers she dropped. But some of the papers get ripped, so Shiraishi decides to reprint them. Tanaka and Oda decide to help her, since she just saved them a few minutes ago. Shiraishi tries to refuse their help, but Tanaka realizes that since she made the monsters run away with just a touch, it must seem like water flees her. Embarrassed, Shiraishi agrees to let them help. While walking to the printing room, everyone admires Shiraishi for being beautiful and intelligent, but Tanaka walks as if he's being taken by the police and tells Shiraishi he doesn't like being stared at. At last, they reach the quiet printing room, where they can work without drawing much attention. In the printing room, Oda helps Shiraishi by pointing out a mistake, and he's surprised when Shiraishi uses a laptop to fix the errors. Tanaka claims that he also knows a convenient way to use a laptop. Both Oda and Shiraishi are curious, thinking Tanaka might have some computer skills. So Tanaka shows them his skill by putting the laptop under his shirt and telling them it can be used as a bulletproof shield. Later, Shiraishi tells them to print 20 copies of each page and staple them, and then they'll be done. Meanwhile, Tanaka feels the warmth of the fresh pages coming out of the printer and starts imagining how amazing it would be to use them as a pillow. So he volunteers to be a paperweight to keep the papers from flying away. In the end, he's assigned to staple them. While working, Oda's stomach growls from hunger, so Shiraishi offers them some macarons she made. Back to work, Tanaka misses the staples because he's starting to fall asleep. Seeing how sleepy Tanaka is, Shiraishi asks them to go home, saying she'll handle the rest herself since Tanaka is at his limit. Oda thanks Shiraishi for the macaron, grabs Tanaka under his arm again and leaves. Just after they leave, Shiraishi takes a deep breath, feeling relieved. She removes her contacts, ties her hair differently, lowers her skirt, and puts on glasses. This is how she actually looks, and she feels much better in this form. In middle school, other students thought she was awkward, too serious, and unfashionable, which left her feeling alone. So she decided to become a completely new girl in high school, working hard on herself. Her high school debut was successful. Everyone started loving her. But in reality, her eyes hurt from wearing contacts, and she's uncomfortable with her hairstyle and short skirt. That's why she was relieved when Tanaka and Oda left earlier. She didn't want her classmates to see her like this. Now she decides to take a little break and relax before continuing her work. But suddenly, Oda comes back holding Tanaka. They forgot Tanaka's bag, so they return to get it. Shiraishi is shocked. Oda remains silent, grabs the bag, apologizes to Shiraishi, and leaves. The next day, Shiraishi stands still in front of her class, too tense to open the door, fearing that everyone may have found out how she really looks. Suddenly, Shiraishi's friend greets her, just like usual. Shiraishi assumes they haven't figured it out yet and feels relieved. Suddenly, Tanaka and Oda arrive. Shiraishi greets them as usual, but inside, she's scared and tense. Tanaka asks her if she sparkles like this in private too. Hearing the word private, Shiraishi thinks Tanaka is hinting that he has dirt on her. But Tanaka reveals that it looks too tiring to maintain, which is why he stays cool and calm. Then he leaves. Now Shiraishi is even more tense, worrying when these two will expose her true nature to everyone. He decides to keep an eye on them. During their next period in the science room, Oda's hair almost dips into a liquid, so Tanaka suggests he tie his hair up. Seeing Oda with his hair tied, Shiraishi assumes they're definitely making fun of her. After class, Shiraishi follows them, but Tanaka suddenly stops her and asks if she wants to follow them into the boys' bathroom. Embarrassed, Shiraishi leaves for now. Later in the school year, all four friends eat lunch together, and Shiraishi is still keeping an eye on them. Tanaka suddenly mentions that yesterday they left in the middle of something. This shocks Shiraishi, who finally hears them bringing up the previous day. Tanaka asks Oda what happened when they went back to get the bag. Oda starts recounting the whole situation, shocking Shiraishi as she thinks he's about to reveal her identity. She gestures for him to stop, but Oda just says that when he went back, Shiraishi had already finished the work and gone home and someone else was using the room. This shocks Shiraishi, but also relieves her. She had been panicking in vain all morning. They hadn't figured out her true identity. Later, in the restroom, Shiraishi feels relieved but realizes that maintaining this image is nearly impossible. She She decides to go home. Suddenly, she gets an idea to pretend to be someone else, thinking no one will recognize her. She steps out of her true identity looking more natural and walks by Oda and Tanaka's friends who don't recognize her. This makes Shiraishi really happy, and she starts walking freely. Suddenly, she passes by Oda and Tanaka. Tanaka calls her name, and without realizing it, Shiraishi responds. Then she realizes she's been caught. Later, Shiraishi tells them the whole story and reveals that the girl Oda saw yesterday was actually her. Oda and Tanaka listen to her. Tanaka soon tells her she's really productive, while he lets his natural listlessness take over, making him useless to society. On the other hand, she's hardworking and kind to everyone, which is why everyone admires her. Oda also encourages her, telling her to keep her head up and have more confidence in herself. This makes Shiraishi feel relieved and she thanks them. As they walk back, she asks both of them to keep her true identity a secret, to which they both agree, saying that even if they told someone, no one would believe them. The next day, Shiraishi comes to school wearing glasses, having ditched her contacts. She's surprised that Tanaka was the only one who realized it was her that time. This starts to make butterflies flutter in her stomach. Meanwhile, Oda asks Tanaka how he recognized her. Tanaka says a girl can cover up her looks, but she can't hide her jingle bell size. Hearing this, Oda tells him it's better never tell her that. The next day after school, Tanaka asks Oda to go with him shopping. Tanaka wants Oda to help him remember the groceries his sister asked him to buy on his way back home from school. Oda tells Tanaka that he also has a sister who is in 9th grade, which leads Tanaka to imagine she looks just like Oda. But Oda tells him that just because they're related doesn't mean she resembles him, so Tanaka shouldn't assume. Tanaka then tells Oda that he also has a little sister in 9th grade, and since their parents are often away, they spend most of the time together and are quite close. Tanaka reassures Oda, saying he doesn't need to worry. It's not like Asterisk, Sweet Home Alabama Asterisk. Oda imagines that, like Tanaka, maybe his sister is also lazy. At the grocery store, Tanaka and Oda try to remember what Tanaka's sister asked him to buy. They assume she wouldn't ask for any frozen items that might melt on the way home because Tanaka walks really slowly. Suddenly, Tanaka remembers he set a reminder the previous day, but the reminder only says P because Tanaka got too tired while typing. So Tanaka decides to use his last resort. He'll just tell his sister that the store ran out of what she wanted. However, Oda suggests he at least think about it before giving up. Tanaka then decides to buy everything that starts with P so he doesn't have to guess. Outside the store, Oda notices a pancake stall having its last sale of the day and realizes that this must be what Tanaka's sister wanted. They buy the pancakes and Tanaka thanks Oda for his help and heads home. The next day, Tanaka is already in class and Oda notices he seems a bit down. When he asks what's wrong, Tanaka reveals that it wasn't pancakes his sister wanted, it was actually a pipe cleaner. So he got scolded for buying unnecessary things. The next day, Shiraishi follows Tanaka, realizing he was the only one who recognized her true self. She starts to think that maybe she's in love with him. Later, she tells her friends that she's in love with a boy. Her friends encourage her to be confident and they offer their support. In class, Shiraishi sees Oda and Tanaka. Seeing Oda, she thinks it must be nice to be him because he's always with Tanaka. Shiraishi then decides to observe Oda to learn something that might be helpful for getting closer to Tanaka. She watches Oda carrying Tanaka and decides she needs to do weight training so she can carry Tanaka wherever he wants to go. But she quickly abandons this idea and decides that first, she should become friends with him. Suddenly, she remembers how she bumped into Tanaka before and decides to recreate that moment to start a conversation with him. So she waits in the school hallway for Tanaka to appear and plans a fake bump into him. But suddenly, Oda appears, surprising Shiraishi. She decides to extract some information from Oda and asks if Tanaka has a girlfriend or someone he likes. After thinking for a few seconds, they both conclude that Tanaka likes Oda. But Shiraishi clarifies she's asking about romantic affection. Oda tells her that Tanaka has said love is just bothersome, so there's no one he's interested in romantically. This reassures Shiraishi and she decides to go talk to Tanaka. While Oda thinks Shiraishi is going to teach Tanaka about love as the class representative. Upon reaching the classroom, Shiraishi sees Miyano with Tanaka and is shocked because she had hoped to become Tanaka's closest female friend, knowing she couldn't achieve Oda's level of closeness. Suddenly, Miyano notices Shiraishi and Shiraishi runs away. Later, Miyano catches up with her and tells her that she noticed her staring at Tanaka earlier and takes her to Tanaka. Upon reaching Tanaka, Miyano announces that she has found another apprentice and asks Tanaka to quickly approve her so that Miyano can become the senior apprentice, which is her real current goal. This surprises both Tanaka and Shiraishi. Tanaka explains Miyano's apprentice system to Shiraishi and Shiraishi takes the opportunity to talk to Tanaka, telling him she wants to be his friend. Tanaka instantly agrees, saying they're already friends. Miyano also becomes friends with Shiraishi and suggests they exchange phone numbers, which Shiraishi had secretly wanted. Tanaka agrees but tells them they'll have to be okay with slow responses. Everyone shares their numbers and Miyano sends Shiraishi a text saying she'll support her in secret. Shiraishi then declares Tanaka her master. The next day, it's really raining outside and Tanaka arrives at school completely drenched. Tanaka tells Oda that his sister gave him an umbrella, but at first he didn't feel a need to open it. Then it started raining cats and dogs, but Tanaka didn't have the energy to open the umbrella, thinking he could make it to school in time. Tanaka explains that he doesn't like umbrellas because you have to hold them, but they can be useful when he has to wait, as they make a good object to lean on. Oda realizes that Tanaka has completely shattered the dignity of the umbrella. Later, Shiraishi fantasizes about sharing an umbrella with Tanaka in the rain, and suddenly sees Tanaka lying on the ground. She thinks it's her imagination at first, but soon realizes it's the real Tanaka. In class, Tanaka tells both Oda and Shiraishi that he thought he stayed in the rain long enough. He might awaken an ability to control the rain, similar to a legend about rain barriers, so he wouldn't need to carry an umbrella anymore. Oda laughs and tells him that if such powers existed, their ancestors would have awakened them long ago when they spent their lives without umbrellas. Shiraishi advises Tanaka that getting a cold would be more bothersome than carrying an umbrella. Realizing her point, Tanaka decides to use his umbrella. Later, he discovers that someone else took his umbrella. In the end, Shiraishi ends up sharing her umbrella with Tanaka, as Oda heads in a different direction. Tanaka asks Shiraishi if he can get closer to her, but she refuses, thinking it would make her heart pound too much. However, Tanaka insists since his shoulder is freezing from the rain. The next day, Tanaka comes to school wet again. This time, he tried dodging the raindrops on his way, but he still ended up getting soaked. The following day is sunny, but Tanaka has caught a cold and is wearing a mask. Because of the cold weather and getting drenched, he's now coughing, which makes it hard for him to speak. Tanaka and Oda try to find an alternative way to communicate. Tanaka attempts lip reading, but Oda reminds him that the mask is covering his mouth. They eventually settle on writing in a notebook. Suddenly, Tanaka remembers he forgot his textbook. They decide to ask Eishizun for a book, so Tanaka goes to her class. Tanaka tries to write her name, but since it's difficult to write her long name, he asks Eishizun if she can change her last name to either Tanaka or Oda. This shocks Eishizun, and she writes on the note that she's not going to accept their proposal. Oda gets confused, wondering how borrowing a book turned into a rejected proposal. The next day, on the way to school, Tanaka greets Oda with a smile, which shocks Oda. Tanaka reveals that under the mask, he had been making a lot of different faces without realizing he wasn't wearing the mask anymore. So in the end, Tanaka decides to keep wearing the mask for a few more days. At school, Eishizun gets flustered about the name-changing incident and starts to assume that Tanaka might want her to choose between him and Oda as a romantic partner. She decides to observe both of them but can't seem to forget the situation. Tanaka and Oda notice her and approach to ask what she wants. But before they get close, Tanaka clarifies that he cannot fight since it's forbidden in the lazy Tanaka kingdom. Eishizun quickly tells them she's not looking for a fight, she's a girl after all. This surprises both of them. Suddenly, Oda suggests they settle things with a thumb wrestling match between Tanaka and Eishizun, as it's peaceful and doesn't require much energy. Tanaka agrees, but Eishizun realizes that thumb wrestling would mean touching hands. Embarrassed, she runs away. Later, she thinks about who would suit her better. Oda is reliable and would treat her like a girl, while Tanaka is listless, unreliable, and she isn't sure if he would even treat her like a human being. Eventually, Eishizun meets Miyano and asks her which name suits her better, Tanaka or Oda. Miyano doesn't quite understand and suggests some strange nicknames for her. Eishizun concludes that by name, it should be Tanaka. Suddenly, Tanaka appears and Miyano goes to greet him. Eishizun, seeing Miyano's short stature, thinks she might suit Tanaka better, but Tanaka mentions that he likes tall people, which makes Eishizun happy. However, Tanaka clarifies that he prefers someone like Oda, who can carry him on their shoulders and just drag him around. Walking happily, Eishizun suddenly trips on her skirt, but Oda catches her. This makes her blush, and she runs away, only to stumble again on the stairs. She injures her leg and Oda carries her, which embarrasses her even more. She struggles to get away from Oda and ends up falling on her head. Afterward, Eishizun tells Tanaka and Oda everything, explaining that she thought they were asking her to choose between them. Tanaka explains that he was simply too lazy to write her long name in Japanese, which is why he asked her to use one of their names as they're easier to write. Oda adds that Tanaka had a cold that day and was writing on a notepad to communicate. This makes Eishizun even more embarrassed, as she had misunderstood it as a marriage proposal. Suddenly, Oda and Tanaka get an idea. They tell Eishizun that they'll start calling her by a nickname from now on. They choose Eishin and begin calling her that, which embarrasses her further. It turns out that Miyano already uses this nickname to call Ikizun, making her even more flustered. One day, Tanaka is planning to do nothing in class as usual. He opens his bag and suddenly freezes with fear. Oda asks him what's wrong and learns that Tanaka received a homemade Valentine's Day chocolate from a girl. Oda thinks Tanaka should be happy, but Tanaka doesn't want to waste time accepting feelings from someone he might not fall in love with. Meanwhile, Oda receives a store-bought friend chocolate and feels grateful that he at least got one. Tanaka then notices a note inside his chocolate. He He opens it to see the words, "I am always watching you," written with a sweet smile, which gives him a new fear of being stalked by a creepy admirer. Tanaka wonders who could have given him the chocolate. Oda suggests that Miyano, his student, might have given it, since she's always watching him as her master. Tanaka agrees but thinks of Miyano as just a little girl. They spy on Miyano and find out that she actually forgot to make chocolates for Valentine's Day. In Miyano's eyes, Tanaka was like a god, and she didn't want to disrespect him with something so simple. Later, Tanaka and Oda sit down to eat their chocolates. Oda mentions that a lover's chocolates are supposed to be made with love, but he feels sad because he received bitter dark chocolate. Tanaka offers Oda some of his sweet chocolates, and Oda recalls that Shiraishi also makes good sweets. They go to ask her, but find out that Shiraishi, being a loner, doesn't even remember Valentine's Day. Afterward, Tanaka and Oda go out shopping. Suddenly, Tanaka trips and a sound recorder falls out of his bag. He becomes terrified, thinking that someone dangerous is stalking him, but Oda calms him down and stops him from calling the police. As they continue, they bump into Tanaka's sister, Rino, who tells them she accidentally left her phone in Tanaka's bag. Tanaka introduces Oda to Rino as his best friend who always satisfies his needs with his strong body. Oda hopes he doesn't come across as part of the LGTV community, but Rino ignores this and invites them for tea. When they arrive at Tanaka's home, Oda sees Rino cleaning shoes and making coffee while Tanaka sits lazily in a corner as usual. Rino sits with Oda, who is forced to drink the bitter coffee he dislikes. Rino mispronounces Oda's name out of nervousness, but they chat and Oda tells her all about how he helps Tanaka at school. Quietly, Rino asks Oda to stop helping Tanaka so much, but before Oda can respond, Tanaka offers Oda some Valentine's chocolates. Oda accepts the sweets and Rino asks them where they got the chocolates. They explain that an unknown person gave them the chocolates, but they taste good, which makes Rino blush. After finishing the coffee, Oda leaves with Tanaka to go home. Once they're gone, Rino starts pouting out of jealousy. She feels upset that Oda seemed happy despite receiving bitter chocolates and coffee that he hates. The usually cold Rino, who is secretly a bit of a brocon, feels jealous that Oda does so much with Tanaka at school. Outside, Tanaka finally figures out that his sister made the chocolates for him. He assumes she gave him leftover chocolates from cooking for her crush. But in reality, Rino had tried her best to create the perfect chocolates for her brother, giving them secretly because she was embarrassed. Now Rino feels frustrated that Oda ended up eating the chocolates instead of Tanaka. She then remembers that she dropped her phone by accident and checks the voice recordings from Tanaka and Oda. She listens as Oda keeps chattering away, which puts Rino in an even worse mood. A few days later, Oda is absent from class. Tanaka learns that Oda got hurt, so he asks Ishizen to take Oda's homework to his house. Ishizen bonks him on the head and tells him to man up and deliver it himself. Thus, Tanaka gets dragged away by Ishizen to Oda's house. Along the way, Tanaka learns that despite her tough, gangster-like appearance, Ishizen is actually a law-abiding citizen who loves helping people. When they finally reach Oda's house, Ishizen pushes Tanaka to ring the doorbell. Oda is surprised to see Tanaka, feeling happy that the world's laziest friend actually bothered to show up for him. Tanaka tries to explain the truth, but Ishizen kicks him from behind a wall to keep him quiet. Leaving Oda hopeful for Tanaka's progress, Tanaka turns to leave and thanks Ishizen for her help. He also tells the annoying Ishizen that she should dress like the good girl she really is instead of looking like a gangster. The next day at school, Oda shows up with a bandage on his foot. Tanaka tries to help him out and gets tired from even walking short distances. In the end, Tanaka proves once again that he's the laziest person in the world by eating the lunch from Oda because he was too tired to carry it. Luckily, Ishizen saves the day with Oda's favorite sweets, which she totally didn't buy especially for him, or so she claims. Sometime later, the students hear a fire alarm drill over the speakers. Everyone gets out of the school as part of the drill. The students gather at the designated area outside, but Tanaka's friends soon realize that he's missing. The injured Oda becomes worried, thinking Tanaka might have gotten hurt without him. Eventually, Tanaka shows up, safe and sound. He explains that he's so used to being carried everywhere that he forgot the way out of the school on his own. Tanaka's friends realized he would have been in serious danger if it had been a real fire. They blame Oda for being injured and leaving Tanaka alone, and Oda, ever the dutiful friend, agrees with them. After school, Tanaka apologizes to Oda for being so useless. Oda reassures him, saying that he's just happy Tanaka tried to help. Tanaka thanks him again and declares that from now on, they should celebrate Oda's day. The next morning, Tanaka gives Oda a token promising that he'll walk into the school on his own. But, as expected, Tanaka gets tired halfway, and Oda ends up carrying him around again. Some days later, Oda and Tanaka are visiting a food street. Tanaka isn't thrilled about the idea of lining up at a restaurant and talking to strangers, but Oda forces him to deal with it. Reluctantly, Tanaka goes inside a McDonald's and asks the receptionist for a kid's meal with a fun toy. The lady informs him that they've run out of toys, which ruins Tanaka's mood, so he settles for a milkshake instead. The girl is surprised that a grown high schooler is acting like a child, but Tanaka's stern expression scares her, making her worry that he might throw the shake at her in anger. Tanaka tries drinking the shake, but it's so thick that he can't get it through the straw. The frustrated look on his face makes the lady even more terrified, thinking he hates the shape and might beat her up. However, Oda and Tanaka actually like the lady because she's friendly and seems well suited for the job. Despite his initial irritation, the lazy Tanaka approves of the place, enjoying the soft seat and air conditioning. Meanwhile, the girl is convinced they're planning to harm her, so she asks her manager for protection. As Tanaka and Oda leave the restaurant, they see her handing out flyers outside. Both boys thank her for her service, and she finally realizes she completely misunderstood them. Later, Tanaka and Oda decide to revisit the restaurant, remembering the pleasant experience. However, Oda realizes he left his phone at school, so he heads back to retrieve it, leaving Tanaka to wait. After Oda leaves, Tanaka blends into the seat, and a young girl named Saya approaches, assuming the table is empty. Saya feels embarrassed when she notices Tanaka, but soon after, Rino shows up and wakes her brother. Rino introduces Saya as her best friend and sits down with them. Tanaka notices that Saya is very shy, while Rino feels happy to spend time with her brother without Oda around to interfere. As they chat, Saya blushes at Tanaka. She whispers something to Rino, who tells Tanaka that Saya thinks his weak, twig-like body is very pretty. Surprised, Tanaka learns that Saya's older brother is more like a strong gorilla. Tanaka tells her that her big brother might be a better person than him because he's strong enough to protect his sister. However, Saya disagrees, pointing out that Rino loves her brother and talks about him all the time. At this moment, Oda finally returns from school. He recognizes Saya as his little sister, which shocks Tanaka as Oda doesn't resemble the gorilla he imagined. Reno immediately gets into a bad mood now that Oda is back and tells Tanaka they should leave. As they walk home, Oda notices his sister blushing and smiling. He asks if she had fun, and Saya feels happy that her brother cares about her so much. During the summer season, Miyano asks Tanaka and Oda to help her grow taller. She explains that she wants to impress Ichizen at the summer festival, but she needs help finding an adult yukata that fits her tiny size. Tanaka and Oda suggest going shopping to see if she can find clothes in her size, and Miyano agrees. Shiraishi joins them, and Miyano eagerly asks her to come along as well. The group heads to the mall, where Tanaka tries to buy a women's yukata, thinking it would be easy to put on. Thankfully, Oda stops him just in time before Tanaka starts reconsidering his gender. Meanwhile, Shiraishi shyly shows off her outfit to the boys, looking like a beautiful lady. Tanaka compliments her, saying she looks great, which makes Shiraishi fall even more in love with him. Unfortunately, even the smallest yukata in the store is too big for Miyano, and she seems to lose her will to live. She feels even more upset when she compares herself to Shiraishi, who has a more mature figure, including her big bazookas. Tanaka and Oda try unsuccessfully to cheer Miyano up. Feeling bad for her, Shiraishi promises to see a custom-sized yukata just for her. On the day of the festival, the group meets up, and Miyano is thrilled with her new yukata. Ichizen adores her cute appearance. Then Ichizen notices how dashing Oda looks and starts blushing, remembering the childhood days they spent together. Oda also recalls their childhood memories, which puts Ichizen in a romantic mood. She shyly begins telling him how great he looks, but the hungry Oda runs off to get some ice cream before she can finish. With her romantic moment ruined, the group moves on to enjoy the food stalls. As the fireworks light up the sky, everyone enjoys the festival, except for poor little Miyano, who is still too short to see the fireworks clearly. Before the end of the year, the class begins preparing for the cultural festival. Shiraishi announces that they have decided to do a haunted house, and Oda turns to ask Tanaka what role he wants. However, Tanaka has already merged with his surroundings, leaving no trace of his existence. He explains that he has been training his hardest to stop existing in order to avoid participating in the cultural festival. But Shiraishi, the class president, cuts through his disguise routines and assigns Tanaka and Oda the rules of for the haunted castle. Once everyone is given a character, the classmates start discussing their plans. Oda wonders if he can really pull off the acting, and his friends cheer him up. Meanwhile, Tanaka tries his best to remain unnoticed, but his friends mistakenly believe he's practicing to be a ghost. This only makes Tanaka feel worse, as no matter what he does, everyone notices him. Oda reassures him, saying that being a ghost isn't all bad. He won't have to help with the actual preparation of the haunted house. When it's time for Tanaka to practice his role as a ghost, he ends up sleeping in the corner instead. As the rest of the class prepares the haunted house, Shiraishi hands Tanaka a female ghost costume. Tanaka comes out wearing it, but Shiraishi points out that he's wearing it wrong. Without hesitation, Tanaka casually takes off his shirt and fixes it, effortlessly flustering Shiraishi in the process. After a while, the haunted house is ready, and it's time for Oda and Tanaka to practice their ghostly scares. The two hide in their designated spots as their classmates test the haunted house. Unsurprisingly, Tanaka just looks like he's having a cozy nap in the corner. Some ghostly hands burst out of a board, frightening the group, but they manage to brace themselves for Oda's challenge. However, Oda turns out to be a total scam, as he's terrified of ghosts himself and needs someone else to take his place. Once Oda is replaced, the haunted house officially begins its operations for the cultural festival. Visitors scream when they encounter the ghosts, but laughter follows when Miyano appears as the final boss. Looking as cute as a puppy, Miyano cheers up the departing visitors, and her presence actually boosts the haunted house's popularity. Outside, Oda learns that Tanaka has unexpectedly become the star of the haunted house. His peaceful, sleeping face is so eerily still that it scares visitors who are too frightened to even approach him. After a while, the haunted house takes a break. Tanaka goes for a walk to find Oda, but he spots him helping others. Then Tanaka sees the tough Ichizen working at a maid cafe, dressed cutely, which makes him lose all respect for her tough image. Meanwhile, back at the haunted house, the classmates wonder where Tanaka disappeared to. Oda grows worried that Tanaka, like a child, might get lost without him and goes to look for him. As predicted, Tanaka does indeed get lost and ends up crawling into a box to sleep. Oda eventually finds him, but as Tanaka wakes up and climbs out of the box like Sadako from Asterisk, the ring Asterisk, he unintentionally knocks Oda unconscious from the shock and fear. Feeling guilty for scaring Oda, Tanaka gives up and falls asleep as well. Later, their classmates find the two boys and bring them back to the haunted house. After this incident, Oda continuously warns Tanaka about ghost stories on campus, scaring him with strange spells for protection. It's the start of a new school year, which means everyone will switch seats in class. Oda, who is basically Tanaka's caretaker, notices that Tanaka is unusually calm and confident, but when he looks closer, he sees strange spell tattoos on Tanaka and hears him chanting weird incantations. Unfortunately, Tanaka ends up seated at the front of the class. Even the teacher feels depressed after seeing the expression on Tanaka's face. Meanwhile, Miyano is placed at the back of the class and she struggles to see the board because the tall Oda is seated in front of her. Hearing this, Oda immediately jumps at the chance to switch seats with her. He sighs, realizing that Tanaka's strange spells actually worked. However, neither of them notices Shiraishi, who is now sitting right next to Tanaka. Shiraishi is thinking about how to win over her crush, but Oda is so focused on helping Tanaka that she doesn't get a chance. After class, Shiraishi feels hopeless. Miyano notices her sulking alone and tries to cheer her up, telling her that all she has to do is sincerely keep trying to win Tanaka over. Shiraishi realizes she can't give up so easily, so she changes back into her plain, comfortable clothes, thinking it might make her seem more approachable. However, when Tanaka sees her, he simply says that he likes being left alone. This breaks Shiraishi's heart, but before she can despair too much, Tanaka tells her that relationships shouldn't be rushed. He believes that life has a way of working things out, and if she keeps trying and waits patiently, she'll eventually get what she wants. This lifts Shiraishi's spirits, and she decides to take her time getting to know Tanaka better and naturally build a relationship with him. After their conversation, Tanaka realizes that he's alone in the classroom and ends up dragging Shiraishi along with him as he heads home. On their way, some of their classmates see them walking together. They start teasing Shiraishi about being Tanaka's new girlfriend, and Shiraishi feels guilty for causing Tanaka to be bothered because of her. Even Oda thinks that Tanaka has finally gotten lucky, but this just irritates Tanaka, and he storms off annoyed. Now without Oda, Tanaka barely manages to avoid various problems on his way home, already regretting that he got mad at his friend. The kids, worried for his safety, follow him as he travels alone. They soon realize that Tanaka doesn't have a girlfriend when Oda receives a message from Shiraishi explaining the situation. The next day, everyone apologizes to Tanaka for their assumptions. Shiraishi feels relieved that the misunderstanding has been cleared up, but Tanaka reflects on what he's learned about having a girlfriend. After all the trouble he faced over a fake relationship, he decides he'll avoid romantic relationships altogether to avoid future problems. Shiraishi almost loses hope again, but she knows that this is just how Tanaka is. And this is where our story comes to an end. Thanks for watching the video. Please leave a like if you enjoyed it.
He lost his family in an accident and discovers that spies are real, so he trains to become the strong.
series is back. In this video, I invite 7 of my friends to my house. But when they get to my house, I have been murdered. And one of those 7 people in the house has come earlier that day and taken their revenge. If the innocents can find out who murdered me, they get $10,000.
So the other day, my friend, so before number 1 stage 1000, our lineup is gonna like in the video. I accidentally click on the stage twice, wasting. Time. But now we're back.
Alright, back to the basics. The title says enough. Today, we're gonna be fishing for catfish on Tinder, and then catfish them as their parents. Their actual parents. Finding scammers' info is pretty easy if you're brave enough. Finding their family is even easier. Alright, that sounds pleasant. How? It's called meta. But first I need to find the scammer. So how do I find scammer friends? Well, Tinder's a good place to start. Chances are the first profile I find is gonna be a good candidate. But I couldn't find any scams right off the bat, surprisingly. I also got 0 likes, unsurprisingly. So instead, to find the scammers, I had to go ahead and find them reversely. How? Well, there's this online community where it reports the most up-to-date scam-tastic activity around the web. So I found a post complaining about a catfish. Now I know every detail, no strings attached, so I can just find this even if they made a new account. So this one is from Benin, which is a country. For some reason, I actually believe them. And just by looking at the screenshots, these pics are obviously generated with AI. And that's mind-blowing. How? Because I just reverse searched the images, and it comes out with this website. Now, I found it on the most recent generated picture section. These users can generate these pictures which are of questionable substance. So this one happened to match the reverse search, and it is linked to this account which generated it on this website. So what do? I look for this account name on there, and I search the web everywhere else, trying to find if it shows up, and nothing shows up, even though I know whoever made this Tinder profile. So I search up variations of it, and then I go straight through meta. Oh, that's epic! Oh, I love that. What the? Oh. Well, I guess that's fun. Thank God for you. And now, we have some results. It all comes down to just finding a common denominator between, a couple of results down, located, yep, in Benin, under this username. So, it could just be a false alarm, of course. The FBI doesn't need to break through the windows just yet. Verify even more. I'm searching for clues, and the mystery gang Scooby-Dooed him again with his photo list. And it actually contains a random shot also in one of their legit Tinder profiles. They might have got some plastic surgery since then, or maybe a botched one if this is them now. So it's completely understandable if you want to alter your photos to make yourself look a bit more appealing, but this might be pushing the envelope, and that's how you catch a catfish. Now I got him with his full name. Now to go to his friends list, and like clockwork, I eventually find accounts with the same last name. So I search their friend list, and eventually I find this dude's dad? Uncle? Hopefully not. Anyway, I'm dropping that one onto the list. The next culprit. This guy, well, he's from Afghanistan, but more particularly, San Francisco. And his name is Melina Starr. Now this post from this anonymous reporter of this scam says that they were duped out of $250 from this catfish known as Melina for special privileges. Special privileges. Oh yeah. Oh. OnlyFans. After some process, I found that their grandparents were on Meta, so this is gonna be even better. Add to the list. And now we have case study number 3, also known as Chadwick, disguised as this guy. Now, this one didn't even generate these images, but instead he stole them from someone who he's actually following on Facebook, and it's his own dad. No, I'm just playing. But that would be the best content I've ever made if it was. Instead, it's just some model. And I found this guy's account because the only account that it was following was from this city in Afghanistan, where this guy's profile is located. And yeah, that seems to add up. Funnily enough, some of these catfish don't even, like, make a fake location in order to be more catfish-like. I couldn't find any relatives of, this guy on Meta. Zuck, why have you forsaken me? So I went to Instagram to find them, and I found their mom, most likely. Either that or it's their sister, who was born 30 years before them. All we really need is their name, but a pic would be even better. So now we have all 3 suspects. Let's go fishing. Welcome to Scammer Geographic. Alright, so I made each account in the city and exact area the catfish profile is in. And I make my account info some made-up username and their parents as profile pictures. And also their real place of residence. And then I just keep swiping until I find something. Preferably the target. I can also narrow the age preference to exactly the age that I know that the catfish is set to based off of the scam reports. Tinder really should just have a search system. Just turn it into TikTok. Everyone gets 60 seconds to explain why you should go out with me. That's literally your whole profile. Okay, I'm trademarking that. No pics, no catfish. I mean, it's not like you can just generate a whole AI video. Oh, great. With the power of knowing exactly what to look for with these profiles, I found each one of these 3 profiles. So we have Hugo, Magnifico, Melina, and Jane. What is it about catfish that have to have names like this? I sent a like to each of these profiles, considering that they are probably brand new after getting banned. And Jane was the first to like back. Now here's Jane's profile. Jane. Only serious men swipe right. Okay, I can't speak for all of you, but I'm serious. I am the only woman you need. Not sure I need you, though. Oh, sick burn. That's for you to prove. Gender roles, I love it. This is a man that looks like this, by the way. She's 29 years old, and Jane is living in Tampa Bay, Florida. Damn, someone give her a life preserver, but travels abroad and doesn't have time for me. They went to Harvard Law School. I hope not. Exactly 5 feet tall, or maybe they just forgot inches. Interests, pole dancing, and mental health awareness. Seems right up my alley. Considering I'm their dad. That's their dad's Facebook profile photo, and also his account is set to 60 years of age. Well, it's a good thing that you went to law school, because you're going to need to prosecute yourself for killing me with those eyes. Don't die on me. You're too sweet. Alright, so now we're in a full-out Tinder conversation, and this is how you start a Tinder conversation like a pro. Take it from me. Too late! Anyway, baby, let's get into it. I'ma be blunt. I'm 60 years old, and I don't got time for games. I lived a good long life, and I want to go out with a bang. You in? Or in and out? Wait, you in? You in or out? Or in and out? Alright, putting that on the new list. List of cringe. Okay. No one said something like that before on here. It's because when I see something I want, I reach out and grab it. I want you, Jane. I want you to need me. And what do you mean like that before? How many other men have you been with on here? Don't tell me that we don't have something special. I can see it in your eyes when I look into them as I fall into a trance of unfathomable depth. You are the light to my roadway, the conch shell to my conscience. The end-all be-all of universal tranquility as I face my impending mortality, witnessing the Reaper draw near. I wish you to be my dying vision. The dream of your touch being my final sensation brings my numbered days meaning as I lie awake at night pondering the vast universe, knowing it all to be nothing without you. You're desperate, you know? Anyone less for someone of such transcendental beauty and divinity as yourself would be either blind, dead, or lying. I wish to never be either of those should I be lucky enough to be with you. Are you just using ChatGPT to write that? No, I really wrote that. You're hot. Can I have your number? I don't know anything about you yet. I don't know what we have in common. Why don't you get to know me first? My apologies. I don't want to sound pushy. We're two peas in a pod. I'm interested in exactly what you're interested in, especially law and order. I've always admired the nobility and honesty of being a lawyer. While pole dancing would be a close second, I tend to have fallen off the edge, if you will, with that skill. But above all else, mental health is of utmost importance. So how long have you been 5? It's very good to know. I've been studying in school now to get my degree in law. I hope to follow the footsteps of my mother, who is an attorney. I'm not 5? You're not? Oh, I meant 5 feet. But it's good to know. Don't want to get in legal trouble myself after all. My dear wife is an attorney too. Small world. You have a wife? You know it's naughty then to be. You're a cheating? No, I'm in an open relationship. I hope you're open to me. I am only if you're honest. What do you like doing in your free time? Alright boys, the test is on. I thought you would never ask. I'm the manager of a fitness center in Cotonou, Benin. So I work out all day. You must be a busy man. I am. If you'd like, I could share you my Facebook page, and you could stop by for a workout, if you know what I mean. I'd love to. I love exercise. Then you're just my style. I am old, so I can't do all the work myself after all. What do you mean though, because your profile says it in Benin? That's right, my love. But why are you in Benin matching with? I'm from the United States. I am in Tampa Bay, and you are such an interesting man to... Well, I'm currently in the United States as well. I took the day off to fly here and search for the one true person to complete me. You came to me in a dream. I remember it oh so well, and you took me by the hand and we sailed across the sea into Kingdom Come, as I knew I had found you. It was only a matter of time, and now I have. We've been drawn together by a mystic force unforeseen. It's best not to question it. There's no way we're not related. From the very way you speak, it's like we're already related. Okay, Shakespeare, where are you? I'd love to visit, but I've had a hard time to deal with recently, and been unavailable. I'm in a very emotional state. I'm so sorry to hear that. What in this world could possibly be so cruel as to allow this? I won't stand for it. My mother has passed away, and I have to pay funeral. This is why I am following her path in life out of honor. I'm so sorry for being this way, but I'm still recovering, as I only had her to rely on. Now I must get through education and get a job, but this is a financial burden I just cannot overcome. That's terrible. I'd do anything to help you. My wife passed on as well. I know how it feels to lose somebody. I can't lose you too. I'd love to give you all my money in any amount that you need. Just say the words, and I'll start writing down the numbers on my checkbook. In the meantime, you should write down the numbers of your number so I can stay in touch. Or we can talk on Messenger, whichever is easier. Tinder is for goofballs. Okay, my Messenger number is... This is obviously where the scam begins, but I escalated it from 0 to 60 faster than the Cybertruck. Little do you know that all this time, I was talking with the other 3 candidates. It didn't work. Each time I dropped some pickup line with an account dressed up as their parents or relatives, they just either instantly blocked me or didn't reply. So I had to make some random alt account to reel them in to not risk losing out entirely. And finding them twice was way harder than you'd ever imagine. So I set up a group chat and individually lured them into it one by one. So now we have all 3 catfish together. I'll have the other text convos on a members only video for you, so stop typing. It's there. Jane was the first in this group chat. I planned perfect timing to add self-proclaimed Hugo Magnifico and Melina something in there. They both think I'm some random victim, but I'm about to become all 3 of their daddies. Yep, add that to the list. I'm gonna be using Facebook account under this alternate username to not cause confusion amongst the rest, who will soon enter from stage left. Welcome to Scammers. Hey Jane, it's me. I am again so sorry for your loss, and hope I have enough to offer you to make even a little sunshine grace your presence. They take the invite that I sent them, and then they enter with an account literally made 1 hour ago. I'm okay. I thank you, as you did not need to show such kindness in your offer. I'd love to come see you, since you are in America, if you have the time. Yes, I too would love to finally meet my one true love. I must tell you, I am old. I would surely hope this is not a turnoff, as my heart is still as large as my wallet. I couldn't request you pay me. My funeral expense is too much, but I love to talk in person. That's absolute nonsense. You deserve more money than the world could ever print. Well, actually, they probably could, but you get the point. I'm rich, I'm old, and I'm in love. I would have used this for my kid's college, but they decided to go off scamming people on the internet for money instead, so he doesn't need education. We can make a better kid together. Oh baby, let's start a life. Let's go off, and let's see the world. Let me be so blessed to be graced by the very presence of your being. Let your touch elevate me to a realm above the heavens you descended from, so that all the world may know your beauty. Hallelujah! Oh darling, may you be so kind as to privilege my use with your name once again. Just type it out, so I may relish its glory. You can already see my name, you... My funeral expense is $25,000. Look, I know you're just playing, so just stop wasting your time. You're not my dad. You're on a fake account. Are you paying? Wait a minute. What do you mean I'm not your dad? Oh, you're not on that account? Your profile, bro. How'd you get that photo? I don't know what you mean. I wasn't involved in any of that. Why aren't you talking like yourself anymore? Are you alright, Jane? Jane's been kidnapped. I got her. $25,000 or I kill. Hello? You want a joke? I know people. I will kill you. You know? Hello? Hello, sir. We've taken Jane away for ransom. If you want her to live, please WhatsApp me for payment info. We set this up to get a ransom, so don't believe that we are bluffing. We'll send pics as proof if needed. You know what, Jane? This is all starting to sound like a big scam. And if there's one scammer I know, it's my no-good dumb mistake of a son. Hello? Oh, hi, Hugo. I'm sorry for the late reply, but I had to let my dogs out. You're talking about scam, but you're dressed as my dad while I'm minding my own business. Samu, I know it's you already. You tried to scam me into paying for a funeral of your own mother. Hi, why is there so much more accounts in here? My mother isn't dead. Don't you think I know that my own wife is alive, you insolent failure of contraception? I can't believe you've done this. Where did I go wrong? At Hugo, I'm so sorry about that. I accidentally added you to my son's group chat. I'll switch it really quick. Hey, you said, oh, my wife died when I said it and you lied. Don't think I don't know what you're doing. Jeff? Hi, Melina. This is embarrassing. I thought this was a private chat. I don't know what happened. And you're speaking rubbish with all these fake accounts. Samu, this is a mistake. I didn't want you to know. I had a wife before your mom. Stop being so disrespectful. How could you lie about your mother for money? Now everyone's in the chat. Just forever. Melina thinks I'm a random man. Hugo thinks I'm a girl. And all 4 of us are one big, unhappy scammer. Sorry, I think you're messing around. No, I'm not, Melina. I told you about the scammers that were hacking into my phone before. I didn't know that you'd be involved. I only want the best for you. Who TF are you talking to? Me? Melina. Hey, your account was made just now. I know you're a fake. Hey, Hugo, I'm being hacked. My son's account is being used to harass me for money. No, it wasn't. Who the... You think you are talking to me like that? Yeah, I made this account, but not for you. He's lying. Just leave. I don't think I'm anyone. I'm not talking to you. She has a point. You need to stop disrespecting woman. Aunt Melina, I'm sorry. Just hit me up with your number and we could talk privately. Hugo Magnifico. Hey, big guy. Let me make another private chat where my accident of a son can't interfere. But Hugo left, never to be seen again. I can't believe you think I'm falling for you after all that. You need to get a life. Please just stop. How can I leave? There are too many messages. I want to believe you, but this doesn't make sense how there are so many people. Why are you talking to the other man? Melina, he means nothing to me. I love you. And then Jane goes off the rails. I hope that you know that when I tell your mother what you did, we will be grounding the hell out of you, Samu. She's already had to bear the misfortune of giving birth to you. And after a few more times of copying and pasting, poor Melina tries to reach out to me. At Oladen bin Bama, why is that your name? Melina, I've been trying to tell you this whole time I don't have control over this situation as my accounts have been compromised. Which is why I didn't want you getting twisted into this. Stop talking like you're in another room with them. We know that you've scammed us all and are now calling me a scammer. You hacked me to get my info? Okay. Samu, I'm going to smack the goofy out of your ass when I get home. At Melina, you still down to FaceTime or something later? And then Samu quite literally loses the last biscuit in his basket. Oh my god, you literally hacked me and are trying to talk this fake account still. Bro, you not real dad. I wish I wasn't. The only reason you're even still alive is because I have better things to do than worry about a dumbass who gets on Tinder as a fake account to waste time. I know people, and look, if you don't stop messaging me, I will literal kill you. Hey. That's weird. Usually anger is further down the stages of grieving when caught catfishing. Why are you a catfish? And that's the end of this season finale. Unfortunately, Melina something and Hugo completely ghosted me, whereas Samu, aka Jane, was the last one in the chat before leaving. Become a member if you want to see how the chats with all the other catfish in this video went down. And also, if you want to see more of Scammer Geographic, you could subscribe to this channel by gently murdering the like button and the subscribe button too and just below this screen. I wonder what those parents really think about what they do, or if they even know. Maybe I'll just have to make that another video, telling their parents in person, an IRL sitcom. You'll see me in the next one. Goodbye. Alright, welcome back. My name is Dallas, aka Hello. Welcome back to this channel. My name is Dallas, also known as Inferness, and welcome back to something I like to call Scammer Geographic. I actually got the house from a real estate scammer. How? Well, there's a place called Zillow, and Zillow is a real estate website where you can look and buy houses and mansions. It's just that easy. But also you can go on there and get scammed, because there's lots of scam listings made by these fake scam real estate companies using random people's addresses, listing them on Zillow, because anyone can do that apparently. You don't need verification, and they just make an absurdly too good to be true price on their on the houses. They list some houses which are extremely wealthy and rich, like this one, for example, in the Hollywood Hills, for a price tag of $400,000. Do you have any idea what that would go for in real life? This is a place in the Hollywood Hills, which is a mansion that looks like this. It's even bigger and better than a house I can build in Minecraft. And $400,000 might seem like a lot for someplace else around the world, but here it's just not going to happen. So if you were to contact this company, which has a large sprawling portfolio across Zillow, you would find a real estate agent going by the name Mike. But Mike is actually a scammer who's probably running this entire operation, and he in reality is living probably somewhere around India, just based off the way they sound. I'm not gonna try to like assume or like genders or races or be offensive. I'm just saying based off my own 2 years of experience, and all you need to do is just give them $1,000. You're not gonna ever see that $1,000 again. And of course, you're not getting that house. In fact, they're just using random millionaires' houses who probably aren't giving them express permission to use them to scam people. And then also on the page, they're just gonna be using AI generated pictures which are supposed to be inside the house, which are obviously just not inside that house. And this description just says it all. You could just see it. There's no reason why anyone wouldn't want to live here. This is just a place that's unbelievably too good to be true. And there's a key word that's just it stands true and holds the test of time. But for me, it's gonna work out because I'm gonna actually get the house. And I'm going to convince this scammer that I got it. You might be wondering, how is that possible? How could I get the house? Well, that's why they invented Airbnb. I could just go there, find a house in that exact area that looks the most similar to this mansion, go there, and call up Mike once again through FaceTime, and just tell him that I got the house. But before we do that, you can go about 2 inches below this screen, make that black button gray if you haven't already. You'll get 10 years of good luck, and 10 years of not getting scammed as well. So do that, right now. Hey there, I'm very interested in... Is it available? I will pay full price out of pocket. I am ready. Thanks. Hello, Dallas. I'm very glad to hear. The property is recently on sale due to foreclosure for limited time. It was unfortunately foreclosed many times until being sold by the current owner. They are currently in hospital and cannot receive calls, so I, the manager, will be happy to answer any and all question. It is one of the best house in the area and contain 4 bedrooms and 5 bathrooms, but also a stunning view. If you want to arrange a tour, put in an offer. It comes with a $1,000 refundable deposit hold. This is because house is really good value and we get too many offers. Reply if still interested? Well, that's fantastic. I'd love to come tour it. I can be at the address in 30 minutes. Hello, Dallas. No, do not come. It is not open for visit just yet. You would need a pre-arrange first schedule, okay? But not for owner, as only I will help arrange this. Oh, well that's unfortunate. How could I expect to buy a house without seeing it in person first? Is just the way it is, okay? Listen, if you'd be interested in the house, you can schedule your name on list upon arrival. You can go to our site and fill in your contact. Only then will an agent contact you about your approval. Please note, to reserve the property, it will cost a $1,000 deposit up front, and then you will tour the property. So I have to pay before I even see what I'm buying? To be honest, you've already sold me, but I'm curious about the matter of property taxes. Is that calculated in the price, or is it a secondary procedure? I left a voicemail on your phone number too. I see your mailing address on the site, so I took the liberty of sending you the $1,000 cash payment through Western Union. It should arrive in your PO in 5 to 7 business days. What you're saying is you send deposit already? We don't offer Western Union. Did you submit contact? No. Let me just call you again. Your reception is bad. I can hardly understand what you're writing.
Hello, this is Mike. How may I help you?
Mike? Hello, Mike. How's it going? Hello, you there?
Yes, hello.
Hey, how's it going? I'm inquiring about the house on Avenue? Is it available?
Oh, sorry, we are very busy today. We have lots of applicants to consider.
Yeah, I could imagine.
Be looking into.
There's tons of, I mean, who wouldn't want a house for that price? It's pretty damn good.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see my message? I wanted to, I wanted to be the early bird so I can get the worm.
Yes. Yes, I see your message.
And
So-
you know the saying, as it goes.
This property is drive, correct? In Beverly
I hope so.
Hills?
If it's the right one I'm contacting about. Unless you could direct me to the right place to find whoever's in charge of that one. I want the one for that price on the listing. Yeah, $400,000. Is that correct? That's pretty good.
That's great. So this property is recently foreclosed.
Oh,
meaning
foreclosed.
The bank has taken action over it, and it is why the value on the listing is much less than the original owner
Yeah.
value.
It looks like it's pretty much like ridiculous. It's like 1/10 the price as all the rest. So anyways, I was wondering a little bit more about why that was. Is there like any secret charges I'm not being told about? I don't want to be loaded with all kinds of fees and costs I can't afford after I get into the loan of this house, after all.
If you were to purchase the property, the taxes and
Oh,
all
the
the
tax.
additional fees are already calculated into the listed price.
Calculated. Yep.
So please know that this house is 6,000 square feet. It has 4 bedrooms.
Mm-hmm.
It has
Damn.
large open window, a multiple balcony, a deck space, infinity
God.
pool, many
That's
more accompanying features, 3 storage garage space, private driveway.
Three garage? Wow.
The property also has its own extended backyard, and it has a full extended front yard as well.
Oh, yeah, I saw I was going off down the cliff there. I was checking all the other prices of the houses. Like the house next door is 3.8 M.
Oh my god.
Is M? That's like
Oh my god.
quite a lot more. That's such a ripoff. All those other people must be scamming or something, because that's just such a ripoff
Because the previous owner has
or something.
total foreclosure price is just as listed without any hidden fees.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing you need to do is go to our website. I am the one managing the
Oh.
property at the moment. The owner will not be able to assist you directly, so you need to go to
Oh, I
our
was wondering
website.
about that.
And then on the website, you can find the portal where you fill in your information form.
Oh, fill in the information? What kind of information?
This will just be basic contact information so that you could be added to our list. You can reserve the property for your own.
All right, sounds good. I'll do it. I'm ready. All right. All right, quick intermission. There's an FAQ, also known as FAQ, as they say. How do I find scammers who are even willing to call me for this amount of time? And the answer is through a hell of a lot of time. And most of the time, they don't go anywhere. They end up completely dry and without any happy ending. Because they just either realize that I'm pranking them and hang up, or they just aren't dumb enough to keep talking to me, and it just never ends up being an actual video. It takes hundreds of hours to even find a scammer dumb enough to get this far, and only that ends up being the video. It would help me out if you would go to Scammer Geographic, submit your own scam. This way I could just look into it directly, and it could even help you out if you've been scammed or know someone who's also been scammed. And now we're gonna play a game of classic scam bingo, provided by Zillow themselves. They have their own anti-scam red flag list, so we're gonna use that to see how many we could check off with this guy. First one's free, of course. The too good to be true already. I feel like we're gonna speedrun this game. Hello, this is Mike Johnson? Hey, I'm calling back.
Hello.
It's Lean Bowser again.
Okay. So,
All right, I have the payment sent, and it should be heading your way in 5 to 7 business days. Although that could mean 7 to 5 business calendar days. Although I'm not entirely sure what difference that means. All I know is if it's like one single day times 5 times 7, then it should be about 72 to 84 calendar hours. So,
what are you talking about that you sent the payment to Western Union?
I sent it through Western Union. It should be heading your way in 5 to 7 business days.
If you send the payment to any Western Union, you will not be able to then deposit all your name on the list because you did not send us the contact information
Nope.
first. If you go to our website, you will find the place where you will sign up and give your contact information. From there, you will get email sent to you where you then pay the $1,000 deposit.
It's $1,000.
Do you have the money to afford this property?
Yep, $1,000, as you said. Unless there's some hidden fees, which I don't think there should be, after all. I think this is all squared away. Okay, so, now that that's done, when should I be heading out to the house to, pick up the keys? Is that how it's gonna work, or do I have to sign some more papers?
Listen to me.
Alright.
I don't know anything about the Western Union.
Yeah, the Western Union is probably the best, most convenient option these days.
The only way, the only place you should send the payment to is directly to us
Alright.
through our payment portal.
Oh, payment
This
portal.
is through CoinDesk.
Yep. Alright, I'll check that one off the list.
After you give us information, you will log in, you will sign up through the form on our website.
Did
And
that
then
already?
after that, it will ask you for your name, phone number, and specific information so we can verify your identity, such as driver's license, ID, and social security number.
Oh, that's...
Do you have any questions so far?
Oh, that's what I was missing then. I didn't put that part. All right, I'll send that over to you as soon as possible.
Then after that, you will get an email from one of our admin representatives, and they will send you the payment portal link.
The payment portal. All
And then
right.
you can pay the $1,000 deposit straight to our CoinDesk.
Oh,
CoinDesk.
Oh, straight through CoinDesk. Okay, so I'll just contact Western Union and tell them to withdraw the payment I sent to you, and then I'll send that to CoinDesk instead. So I just looked it up. I don't have an account with CoinDesk. I have an account with Western Union, though. Does that work?
You can open a CoinDesk account and transfer the money. It is free of charge to convert any currency.
It seems kind of old-fashioned to me, but okay.
But you say you sent it to Western Union. That is not a payment option that we
Yes.
provide.
Yep, the Western Union is, I think they sent me an update saying it should get there in about 1 to 2 more days, I believe. So once that gets there, I'll just call them back and tell them to ship it back, and it should probably take about 5 to 7 business days to get back, and then I'll send, the other payment through, I'll send the same money, I'll convert it to Bitcoins, and then send it through CoinDesk, and then I'll go to the house and get the keys. I'm gonna go ahead and check it out and see and give it a quick tour, just a look around maybe, just to see. I want to make sure that you know it has everything to my liking, and I don't want to like waste any of your time if it ends up being me not interested with it and stuff like that. And,
No. No.
I'm sorry. No what? Yeah. I think I'll just be heading down there in about a couple of hours from now when I get off work.
I'm sorry. Can you speak about it one more time? I need to understand what you're trying to say to me.
I said I'll be coming down.
Look, so we have a lot of those clients.
Oh, you do?
It is currently really late for me in the day.
All right. Well, then I can just help myself. Then I could just go to that place and then give it a look around.
Listen, don't go to the address. If you go to the address, you will be not able to get into the house. It is not for open house at the moment.